There we go. We are officially live. Welcome to what quite possibly could be a righteous beatdown again on Thursday Night Football. EJ, fun fact, don't know if you saw this tweet from James Palmer. This is the first time in Mahomes' career that he has faced a last-ranked defense. It's never happened before. Should be fun.
It always happens the week after he plays them. No, not the week before. This has a lot of potential to be lopsided. Like the Broncos offense, I'll give them their flowers first. I don't want to say Russ is back, but Russ is playing some pretty damn solid football, especially compared to the defensive side of the football for the Broncos, which is really troubling. And Broncos fans, yes, you all know this. I am preaching, singing, crying to the choir, whatever you want to call it. Vance Joseph's defense has some dudes on it. Like they've gotten some good pass rush production out of guys like Nick Bonito, and they got Surtain at corner and a bunch of dudes, bunch of athletes on this defense. It shouldn't be as bad as it is, but it is bad. Make no mistake. I was telling Brett before we started this up, people are lighting my phone up. They've been lighting it up for the last couple hours. Dude, the spread's 10.5. What should I do? And I'm like, well, take it, I guess. Like, it's pretty likely that they're going to cover that because, and most people, again, who are not Broncos fans and have not watched Broncos football this year, like, they're not that bad, are they? Because really, typically, nobody's quite that bad. And this year, the Broncos defense is that bad. And it's a bit of a shame because the offense, Russ has, I don't want to say found his old form, but he's found footing at least and played pretty solid football. Used a lot of weapons they have on this team. They have, again, some exciting dudes on offense. We're getting to see that a little bit more, but it doesn't really matter because it all comes out in the wash and they just get boat raced because their defense can't stop a stiff breeze right now. So, I'm excited to see guys like Marvin Mims. He's one of my favorite rookies, and that's saying something because I really like this rookie class, but he's a special player. And I hope the defense gets its act together at least a little bit, because if they don't against Mahomes and the Chiefs, like this is going to be a very short-lived assassination.
Well, you did mention Marvin Mims, and I did not share this with you before we went live, but he is a key component to our underdog slip tonight. He's got the what we're dubbing the Khalil Shakir line, where it's like, well, if he just gets one catch, we're good. It's at 19.5. So if he gets 19.5 yards. We also got Patrick Mahomes at 11.5 first downs. We have Rashee Rice at 16.5 yards after catch.
That's the Khalil Shakir line right there. That's the Khalil Shakir line in disguise. That's
Rice
the one.
At Yak.
You tried to slip that in there. Oh, that's funny.
We got one-legged Travis Kelce with 32.5 yards after catch. And then Russell Wilson, which tells you how we think this game is going to go, higher than 32 passing attempts. So that's our slip for tonight. I'm going to paste the link in chat, so if you guys feel like tailing that, you can. Also, by the way, speaking of Underdog, they have upped the offer for us. So now, if you're new to Underdog and you're looking for a deposit match, anything up to $500 on that first deposit gets matched. So I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying if you're so inclined. There were people that were asking to extend the deposit match, and so they upped it in a big way. So if you've never played Underdog before, it might help make this game watchable for you tonight. Hopefully, remotely watchable. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's
if
bad.
You're a Broncos
God, it's
fan,
so bad.
Maybe not. This could be. Yeah, I'm very glad that. Well, it's incredibly difficult for me to say this based on last week, but I'm glad this isn't the Malort game because, I like you. I like working with you. And
it's worse. It's worse.
I know, but because you're not going to be doing as much of that, I hope.
I received this in the mail today from my wonderful mods.
Yes.
It's a spicy pickle. It's not even a whiskey. It's a liqueur. It's only 70 proof. So it's a spicy pickle whiskey liqueur, which just sounds terrible. I think, honestly, I might hate this more than Malort because I don't like pickles. I hate pickles.
Oh, well, okay. Then you're done.
I'm fucked, EJ. I'm not shooting it every time the Chiefs score because I will die. Maybe I'll give you like a first half and a second half kickoff shot. But
Yeah, and then maybe if the Broncos get an interception.
God, I'm playing with fire at that point. If I don't put a cap on it, I am playing with fire. My Friday morning last week was brutal. Okay.
I know this because I was the one doing the welfare checks for the internet at proxy. I was your virtual caretaker on Friday, whether you know it or not.
Dude, it was not a good morning for me.
When you said my head has an echo and I asked you if it was in your teeth, yeah, that's why I'm glad we're not doing that nonsense again. But if you don't like pickle, see, I actually like pickle. I think I would hate that, but I at least have some tolerance for iocane powder, whereas you don't.
It's gonna
rugged.
It's a bad night for me. So you know what? We're just hoping for a good fantasy night. If underdog hits,
oh yeah,
I'll take it. But I don't expect this to be a good football game, and I certainly don't expect it to be a good drinking experience tonight. And by the way,
Jawbreakers for $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Going to the Bills Giants game on Sunday night. Look out for my paper bag as Tyrod gets murdered.
That's the game you're going to?
Oh boy. Well, hopefully, like this one, you get to see one team go off. Maybe the Bills will just romp, and that'll be a memorable evening as they, I don't know, hang 45 on the Giants or something. But yeah, in terms of balance, that one looks a little bit like this one does. I would say that one's a wee bit closer than this one looks, just because, look, the Broncos defense is, I don't know, I would call them inexplicably bad. Like, they should not be this bad, and they are flat.
I wouldn't say it's inexplicable. Their interior defensive line gets pushed around against the run. We like their edges, but it's not like it's Von Miller out there. Like, we like Cooper and we like Bonito, but again, that's it. They are not elite edge rushing talent. They are solid, a young, solid edge rushing duo. Their linebacking core is fine, but again, it's not Roquan out there. They have two good pieces in the secondary, and then three guys that probably wouldn't start on most other teams. And then, you know, you have a system where very similar to Arizona, you know, the problem we were talking about with Arizona last week, where it just gives free access all damn day. Because it seems like the only corner that they're willing to give press coverage opportunities to is Surtain, and everybody else is like, all right, play 8 yards off and drive on the ball. And it's like, what are we doing here? So you have fine, maybe good, but not great edge rushers, not a good interior defensive line, fine linebackers, not great linebackers, one excellent corner, one excellent safety, and then three other dudes in the secondary. That's a bad defense, or at least a recipe for a bad defense. Like, this is not a star-studded unit. And in the absence of a great coordinator that can get the most out of non-stars, yeah, this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, that's the piece I think that's bigger, is if you're going to have that as a lineup, which is solid, like it's middle of the pack to below middle of the pack, but if you also pair that with a coordinator who is not creative and I would not say overly flexible, like light a match to it. It's we've seen it for the first 5 weeks. It is not only not good, it is absolutely objectively bad.
JJ says, I have that pickle whiskey. It tastes like mustard. Well, that's also bad for me because I'm not a mustard guy either.
You just don't like vinegar.
Yeah, I don't really like
not a vinegar guy.
I will say, like, mustard, I will use it in cooking as a binder for like meat, like Tyler when he does those little like lamb drummies, you know, and he'll do the herb seasoning and using the mustard as a binder. That's fine, but like just mustard on a hot dog, never been a mustard on a hot dog guy for me. So
you just don't like vinegar. It's okay.
But Doritos and cottage cheese, totally cool with me. You know, I'm that dude.
We've all got our things.
Kel for $5. What's Brett shooting tonight? Absinthe, grain alcohol, jet fuel. Glad you survived last week. Well, survived is a very generous term. God,
we,
well, I don't know if I
bootleg was
survived.
not tip top on Friday morning. Let's just,
No.
I was holding down the shop, making sure the other half wasn't dead, and telling the rest of the internet they should not fear. That yes, he was alive and functional, and by functional I mean standing, breathing, able to consume water. Like he would get better.
Yeah, I drank like a gallon of water by noon. It was it's
Not
good.
surprised.
Not good. Cure for $2. The fruits of my labor has never been so sweet. Yes, Cure is the one who sent me this terrible pickle whiskey in the first place. So whatever happens tonight, it's on him. It's all his fault.
Fair enough.
I do want to talk a little bit about Chiefs defense. You know, it still seems like a month into the season, they are still an underrated unit, even though they're one of the few teams that has not allowed anybody over 20 points yet. This is a young team, admittedly. A lot of young pieces, especially in the secondary, especially in the linebacking core. But at the same time, their discipline, their communication skills, I would say the trust that Steve Spagnuolo has in them for him to just call a bunch of wild shit every week. Like some of the pressures that they run are absolutely insane, but he trusts them to not just be able to actually rush and get home and do all the stuff that comes with bringing pressure. But the communication and discipline on the back end to hold up in coverage when you're bringing pressure is a whole different conversation, especially with young players, right? Because you have to understand your roles and responsibilities within the coverage that is behind the blitz pre-snap. B, when you're seeing motions and switch releases and everything like that, and understanding, okay, who's the final number one, who's the final number two, who's the final number three, how does the motion affect this? Like, if you think it's hard to nail down your responsibility post-snap against all these motions and different releases and stuff when everything's static, and when you got 7 bodies in coverage, try doing it when you have 6 or maybe even 5. Like it's a tough thing to play coverage behind a pressure, especially an exotic pressure like the one the Chiefs like to use, and to not mess up your assignment, to not let somebody go free, to not let somebody just run into free space. Like that is an underrated element of why this defense works, is because it's not just that they call all these fun blitzes, it's that they're so good on the back end behind these fun blitzes. And also at the same time, Spags will lean on these young DBs to play a lot of man coverage. They're a very man-heavy defense when they're not calling all these blitzes, and they hold up very well too. So I want to give the Chiefs defense their due, especially in the secondary. They're young, but they're really, really damn good. And I think with each passing year that this group plays together, because I have to imagine they're going to play together for a while, like they got the makings of something special here. They really do.
Especially in the secondary, it feels like they got a lot of those kinks out of their system last year as they were playing basically 4 young guys. And they're not all necessarily young guys, but young in the Chiefs system. Some young draft picks and new free agents to the Chiefs last year. They were figuring that out. They were figuring out that balance. And early in the year, we did see that. We did see some pointing like, I thought it was yours. Nah, they worked that out. They were still good enough, obviously, to go far in the playoffs. But that they could pick up where they left off from last year with that continuity. And unlike what we've been sort of trumpeting all week and all of our other pieces of content, the injury bug, largely knocking on a very solid piece of wood here, has not hit them on defense. Yeah. And guys that we said we thought were going to play big roles for them, like Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Drew Tranquill, we thought was going to be a big free agent addition, was going to be playing a lot of minutes for them. We liked Shamari Connor. We thought, hey, he's going to be a really valuable piece. Those guys have played pretty sparingly. Like they've been in rotations, but they have not been counted on in major roles, any of them, because all the guys in front of them are healthy and playing really well. And with the secondary, talking about L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed, Brian Cook, Joshua Williams, and Trent McDuffie. I mean, 4 out of 5 of those guys are very young players. And they were figuring it out. And talk about that trust and the ability to say, no, we got it. Go do, maybe some rushes that put you in an under-leveraged position. Like Spags is completely comfortable with that. And then occasionally, well, more than occasionally, he's going to bring one of those 5 guys I listed on a on a nickel blitz,
Mm-hmm.
right? On a slot blitz. He loves to bring Snead on
Especially
slot blitz.
Legarius. Yeah.
Legarius is his guy for that, but McDuffie did a ton of that at Washington and has that skill set and can be the like, hey, we're going to walk Legarius up. We're going to mug him. We're basically going to make him look like he's coming. And then, out of a dime package, we're going to bring McDuffie from the other side because, we made you look. And, that's fun stuff. And Spags is having fun with it because he did all the teaching he needed to do last year to get his system in with those guys and get through all those situations. And this year it feels like there have been very few. I'm actually sort of trying to scratch my head right now and think, have I seen any like outright busts from the Chiefs secondary?
There was like 2 in the Detroit game off the top, but that's about it, and that was week 1.
I was thinking one that I saw week 1, and I haven't watched every snap of that defense, but I've watched most of them. And in terms of like obvious, oh my God, they just let him run free. Nope.
Yeah. We had a super chat here from John Salter for $10. You chose not to talk about it in your recap video. Now I'm making you talk about it. Ravens versus Steelers, aka Lamar versus his receiving core. We briefly mentioned it in the episode that's coming out later, the Week 6 preview, whether it comes out tomorrow or comes out Saturday morning. I'm not entirely sure yet. It's a big one. It's like almost 2 hours long, so we'll see. We'll see when that one comes out. But there was a stat from, I think it was Dan Orlovsky that we read out in that episode where they had 8 drops for like 135 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game, something like that.
You nailed it. Yep, 8 for 135 and 3 TDs potentially is laying on the ground because, look, Lamar's playing really well. When you say Lamar versus his receivers, you're not really kidding. He was hitting those guys in the hands, and some of the guys who are traditionally very reliable, Mark Andrews, I'm looking at you. He had a couple in that game that hit him right in the mitts.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't catch it for him. And normally that's a lock with Andrews for years. That connection between Lamar and Andrews has been a foregone conclusion. And for some reason, and it wasn't the only one, like he had 2 and there were 6 others spread around. And it wasn't, again, just one guy. It's really rough, but it's not that the offense isn't good. It's not that Lamar's not making the right reads or he's not getting the ball out on time. He did everything. The entire team did everything to get the receiver in position, get Lamar to throw it. He throws it. He hits him in the hands. They drop it. 1 or 2 or 3, that's normal stuff. 4, you're starting to say, okay, we got to clean this up. 5, 6, you're like, hey, what's going on? 8, you're like, forget it. I can't complete a pass. I'm throwing them all. They're hitting you. Like, come on, guys. We need Velcro. Stick them. It was a shit show on the receiving side, and the Steelers won the game because of it. There's no doubt in my mind, none, 0. Like Steelers had no business winning that game. Their offense was terrible. Their defense was great and kept them in it. Gave them the ability at the end to quote unquote win the game. It pains me to say that because the offense did basically nothing and the defense did basically everything. But look, you got to give the defense credit. But it's the Ravens offense wasn't bad right to that last second. You got to execute, you got to catch it, but everything else was good.
It's the only time that I've ever seen a PFF grade. And again, PFF, I don't necessarily pay attention to the grades that much. I more pay attention to the stats, and especially a lot of the advanced stats they have are really, really good stuff. But I just found it so funny that it might be the only time I've ever seen a PFF grade for a quarterback that had 236 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick be like 96, right? Because the grade factors in like, oh, it was a good ball, it just wasn't caught. But like he had a legitimately great game, and I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that hold that stat line against him, where it's like, that wasn't his fault, man. Like he did everything, literally everything that Lamar Jackson physically could do to win that game. But I'm gonna have my little Giselle Bundchen quote here. He can't throw the ball and catch the ball. Like, I don't know. It was rough. I think the next time Baltimore sees Pittsburgh, the difference between these two teams will be laid bare, to say it diplomatically. All right, a couple more super chats here before the game kicks off. Riley Black for $5. Did you know if you put a wooden spoon on the pot while it's boiling, the pot spoon water will the spill water pot the boiling water steam spoon? What the fuck?
Apparently, it's a super chat for after you drink all the pickle whiskey.
Riley, do you smell toast? Are you okay? Did ChatGPT just donate to us? What's going on?
Oh, man. The one after that, though, I'm interested in because it's a player that we talked about a lot during his draft cycle in Malik Willis and Echo Warrior for $19.99. Thank you very much. Just a thought. If you're the Falcons, would you flip a late round pick to the Titans for Willis? He has higher upside than Ritter and adds to the run game more. Doesn't have to start right away with Ritter and Heineke there. I'm not sure you could get him for a late round pick because he is the number 2 on the Titans right now, and Tannehill does not have any kind of death grip on that starting job. The bell may be tolling for Ryan sooner rather than later, and I think they would like Malik to be at least their interim plan, depending on what happens this year. And look, it's a quarterback-rich draft, but Malik's made some really solid strides, big strides from year 1 to year 2. So I don't know about the late round pick part. If it were just talking about the player going to the team, yeah, I would like to see Malik Willis in that Falcons offense. That would add, like you said, both to the run game. And I think it's funny. I think his ceiling in places is much higher than Ritter's. And I think Ritter does some things better than Malik. And again, we haven't seen them really up until last week. Ritter hasn't even played at an average level until last week, and it kind of looked like the light came on. So I'm always a little bit hesitant with a young player when they're just starting to look like they're going to click to like yank the rug out from underneath him. If they could get him for a reasonable pick and they don't want to play him and you get to let Ritter play it out and have Malik there as an option if it doesn't work out, sure, I love that from a team building strategy point. Not sure it really works in reality for either team with where they are and where they are with those particular players, if that makes sense.
For Malik's sake, I would want him to go to a place where, again, he wouldn't have to play right now, but also where I think the offensive structure in general is just more conducive to developing a young quarterback. So I'm thinking McVay with the Rams. I'm thinking... hell, Minnesota. Like maybe Minnesota could throw a pick at him just because, again, Kirk's gone next year anyway, and you got Justin Jefferson, Addison, 2 good tackles. O'Connell's a good offensive mind. Like I think that I would trust Malik's development more there than at Tennessee right now. Could go to the Philadelphia school for quarterbacks. The constant cycle that they got going over there in Philly. Like why not? Like there's better destinations for Malik's sake than Atlanta. And also I echo EJ's sentiments of, we haven't proven that Ritter's bad yet. So we'll see. It's only been
he tried for the first 4 games.
Yeah.
He certainly was putting together a resume that said, "Don't keep me around."
Like
for the first month.
We think he's not up to caliber, but we're not 100% sure yet. We got to give it till Thanksgiving, and I think we'll know by then. We'll see. A
few more games. You know what a low-key fun destination for Malik would be?
Huh?
Okay, so 2 theoreticals. Again, never rooting for a player to get hurt ever, ever, ever. So this is completely hypothetical, theoretical. Josh Dobbs twists his ankle, and they say, Kyler's timetable for coming back, we don't want to rush him. We're not going to play him this year. He's not going to play at all this year. Malik Willis with Drew Petzig in Arizona.
I wouldn't
like there'd
hate
be
that.
He would be playing, but there wouldn't really be any pressure. Like nobody thinks like, oh,
yeah, nobody
Malik
would hold
Willis
it against
here.
him, like
Yeah, nobody's going to be like, Malik's here. We're going to the whatever. We're not going anywhere. We know that. And Petzig's been calling a really fun offense. He's got some weapons there, not the same level as, you were talking about Minnesota. It's not that thing. Tackles are okay. His mobility would help. It would be a creative and fun use to see him sort of grow and get snaps. All young quarterbacks need snaps. And it would be a low pressure environment. Just one of those sort of like throw it at the wall and see what sticks. If it doesn't work out, they're probably going to have a high pick anyways, and they can choose to go another direction or have Kyler back and see how that's going to go. Like they have a lot of choices at that point.
I just threw the underdog slip in chat because people were asking for it again. I'm sure people that came in a little bit later that didn't see it before. So again, just a quick rundown on it. We have higher on 19.5 receiving yards for Marvin Mims tonight. We have higher on 11.5 passing first downs for Mahomes, higher on 16.5 yards after catch for Rashee Rice, higher on 32.5 yards after catch for Kelce, and then higher on Wilson on 32 passing attempts. So we went all hires tonight. We're avoiding the anxiety of lowers. I'm not taking that bait. We got no lowers, no kickers. We followed the rules this time. And it's insured, so we only need to hit on 4. We don't need to hit on 5. So, again, if you want to tail that and or fade it, given my history, link is in the chat. And also, if you're new to Underdog, make sure to use promo code BOOTLEG while you're depositing. They'll match your deposit up to $500 and double it for you on the platform. Curtis says, thoughts on Steve Smith comments on Jeudy.
Didn't see him yet.
I must have missed those. If you guys could enlighten me as to what he said.
Yeah, throw him into chat while we're doing that. Andrew Stanley for $5. Thank you, Andrew. Don't know how often you guys find yourself in Alabama. We have not found ourselves in Alabama, I don't think, since 2020. Doesn't mean we don't want to go back. Like, we had a good time in Alabama, and, it'd be cool to go see a Crimson Tide game, too.
I miss Fusaklis. Fusaklis is good.
That's very true. But when you do, maybe at Senior Bowl, check out Good People IPA, 7%, really nice beer. I will mark that down because one of the great joys of me for traveling around the country, one of the things we get to do with this job is hanging out in good brew scenes, and especially, I would say, sort of unexpectedly good brew scenes. Texas is great. Texas has a strong distilling heritage, but they also have a really strong brewing tradition that's more recent, but incredibly diverse. And I love going down the HEB that's right near my buddy Frank's house in Austin has the greatest beer aisle. I love that beer aisle. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my happy places in the world. I love going there.
Real quick before kickoff starts, because Storm asked a fantasy question. Who do I start at flex? Rice from KC, Zay, Terry, Gibbs, or Wilson from Arizona? Hold on, let me look at the matchups. Because my first instinct is Zay, right, against Tennessee. Because I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be able to. Now that I think about it, Wilson's not a bad one.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning Wilson. Yeah.
Which I know as soon as I say Wilson, it means Rashee Rice is going to go off tonight. Like, I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, well, pick your poison here. Drop your weight in the bucket. You're going to make ripples one way or another.
I'm not sure I think I'm ruling out McLaurin on this one. Not just because I love Terry, but they're just not using their receivers right now. Like, it's actually insane. Terry McLaurin has an 18% target share as a wide receiver, quote unquote wide receiver one in that audience, in that offense, which is by far the lowest target share for any number one in the NFL. So they're just not really using him, and they're not using Dotson either. Like, they're focusing on Curtis Samuel more than anything. So yeah. It's frustrating. I would just kind of stay away from that. Yeah, fuck it. I think I might go Wilson from Arizona. Not gonna lie.
I was sort of low-key leaning Wilson. So Echo Warrior 999, thanks for clearing it up for us. He called out Jeudy on his podcast and then again on air saying he's just a guy and would tell teams not to trade for him since he's an average receiver that can't take constructive criticism or doesn't take constructive criticism.
So the doesn't take constructive criticism part is really the sentence that I'm most interested in there. Because what I wonder is, does that mean that Steve tried to work with him and Jeudy didn't respond very well to that? Or does it mean that Steve was talking to some coaches in the building that were talking about coachability or whatever? Like, maybe Steve was talking to somebody on Sean's staff. That's the sentence that I'm very curious about. Of what does it mean that he can't take constructive criticism? Either was it from you or from a coach that you talked to, Steve? Maybe I'll try to get some clarification on that because that's an interesting statement to me. Now, I will say, is Jeudy an average receiver? I don't know if I would say average. Has Jeudy lived up to his draft status? Absolutely not. Like, not even close to what people were talking about him when he was coming out, right? People were saying, like, absolutely uncoverable, cannot handle Jeudy in man coverage whatsoever. Like, no. Jeudy, I think, for a lot of teams, is a high-end number 2. I don't think he'll ever be a number 1. You know, I could name probably 15 receivers in the league right now that would be number 1s. Over more than 15, actually. It would be number 1s.
I was going to say, that number might be higher than you're letting
Like, he is a high-end number 2. So, you know, what's the price for a high-end number 2? Probably not a first-round pick. Like, they're not going to get a first-rounder for him. They would only get a first-rounder for Surtain, honestly, out of everybody on the roster. I could see them getting... I mean, if Mo Sanu got a second, maybe they could get a second for Jerry Jeudy, but, like...
No.
That would be the most they would get, would be a second-round pick from a team that really, really needs receivers, that really, really thinks they still have a shot to salvage the season, which I don't know how many teams fit that bill, but... Yeah, that's where I'm at with Jeudy.
I think you're probably a little high on both ends. I think you're a little high on the pick they might get for him and a little high on the high-end number 2. Now, we're splitting hairs. I think he can be a serviceable number 2. I would not call him a high-end number 2 because if we start listing the guys who are high-end number 2s, there are a lot of those guys you said could be number 1s, right? You know, if we're listing
like
guys,
he's not T. Higgins, you know.
He's not T. Higgins. He's not Lockett. He's like, again, go through a bunch of number 2s. And I don't think he's near the top of that list. I think he might be on that list or deserve to be on that list. But there's a lot of folks that I would choose in front of him. So, again, that also is going to be commensurate with his, you know, his draft trade.
Well, how about this?
Go ahead.
I'll play a game with you real quick. Let's just say both Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are healthy. Is Jeudy better than either one of them? Would Jeudy be the wide receiver 2 at Pittsburgh?
No, not for me.
And I think that's like the Dalton line, right? It's the Dalton line for receivers. like, is Jerry Jeudy the number 1 or the number 2 in Pittsburgh? I don't know, man.
You know, does he have the potential to be? And look, Pittsburgh's been very good with, well, they've been better with picking wide receivers than they have been with developing ones that they got from the outside. And yes, everybody can bring up Claypool and say, oh, they missed on that. Everybody misses on a lot. Pittsburgh hits on a lot more wide receivers that they draft than almost anybody. They're very good at drafting that position and have great history with that. So maybe they could turn Jeudy around. Maybe they had a really high grade on him. Maybe they didn't. You never know. Teams keep those grades and they keep their pro scouts sort of updating the file because things like this happen. Guys come available and they go back and look and say, what did we think when he was coming out? What's he done since then? You know, what do we think his current team is, you know, hitting on or missing on? What do we think we could add to that equation? And you never know. Some teams are just chomping at the bit to get guys. My classic example for that is Thomas Jones, which is a throwback. When he got drafted, I really wanted him to go to the Bears. He ends up going to the Cardinals. He comes available in free agency, and the Bears are like, oh, yeah, we had a shot. We didn't have a shot at this guy. We wanted him on our team. He goes on to be a great Bear. And, you know, so teams keep those grades on players. So you never know who's out there that really thinks Jerry Jeudy's still a superstar.
This Jaleel McLaughlin, man, I'm quickly becoming obsessed with this kid.
I saw that you joined the Jaleel McLaughlin train. Matt Waltman and I were, Matt was on it before I was, to be 100% clear and give full credit where credit is due. Matt Waltman turned me on to Jaleel McLaughlin. He was like, Jaleel McLaughlin. And I was like, I've got him on my list, but he's like way down my list. I'm not going to get to him for a while. Okay. But I have ultimate respect for Matt Waldman. If you are not familiar with the RSP, the rookie scouting portfolio, which is his output every year, it is some of the best work done in draft media, period. End of story. Not going to take any questions at this time. That is a true statement. So if you don't know who Matt is, go check him out. But I was like, okay, Matt likes him. And Matt's got a real keen eye for running backs. And I was like, okay, I'm going to look. And I was like, okay, there's some fun skills there. And I dug in.
He's got some juice, man. He really does.
Well, that's the first thing that pops off, but he's got other things too, is because there's a lot of guys in his frame profile that have a lot of juice, electricity burst, whatever you want to call it. But if you don't match that, if you don't have great size and you don't match that with some vision, cutback ability, the ability to set up your runs correctly, and those are the things that Matt really digs into, and he saw several of those qualities along with the juice. Yeah, get it, buddy.
Chat reminded me I didn't do a shot at the beginning of the half.
Well,
this is foul.
Well, it is the neck pour. Sorry, I had to.
Oh my God. Whose idea was this to make
Speak of
this?
the devil, it was not me. Let's be clear. This is not me trying to kill you by proxy, because I would just do it directly.
It's just wafting into my eyes right now. Like, this is horrible.
Do you need goggles? Is this a Bill Nye thing?
Oh God. Oh, smells so okay. Well, here's spicy pickle whiskey liqueur, you asshole.
Woo.
You know, oh, it's briny.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
You know, honestly, the spice kind of saves it a little bit. It kind of masks it a little bit. The brininess, though. Oh, it's like a minty aftertaste too. What is? Oh God, it's like ethanol.
That is a taste the rainbow I am not into.
Oh God, that is horrible. I will say, not as bad as Malort. Not as bad as Malort.
I would hope so.
But it's close. It's close.
All right. Yeah, for all of our Julio McLaughlin praise, there's still a guy named Williams that plays in the backfield for the Broncos who's pretty darn good.
Ugh. I'm just going to have a bottle of that sitting on my shelf for years now.
Yeah.
That's not getting drank naturally. It actually made tears come out of my eyes.
Yeah, I have several bottles like that live in the garage, like in a closed cupboard in the garage. They're not even like on a shelf in the garage. They're just behind closed doors because there's no good reason for them to be displayed or consumed.
Oh God, Cure, you're the worst for sending me that. It's like actually making me cry.
That's, just thoughts of the Broncos defense coming in early.
The vapors are lingering.
But speaking of defense, Chiefs are going to need to tackle. They've missed a couple on this opening drive, which has allowed Denver to continue and, move it onto their half. Again, Denver looking pretty sharp on the script. Peyton's always been a very strong script play caller, or whatever you want to say, play designer, play liner up for the script.
It's play call sequencer.
Yeah, play call sequencer, I guess, is a script thing. And okay, here we go. Willie Gay said enough of that. So he was ready for them to stop having success on the run. We haven't had enough Willie Gay content this year. He's not been a huge factor for the Chiefs, and I'm all here for Willie Gay.
Nick Bolton keeps taking all the tackles.
No, 100%.
Ooh, and a little nub look, trips to the field.
And we have called out Nick Bolton directly, and he's well deserved. But Willie Gay is a fun player, a lot more high variance than Nick Bolton. But
how did they not get Russ on the ground there? Like, what in the world happened there?
I'm not sure, but he did get away, and our buddy Adam Troutman.
It's like he ducked into it and he just ran out of it.
He was expecting to go down.
Well, you saw him almost give up, and then he didn't get fully hit, and he was like, "Okay, guess we're still going."
Russ Wilson has a weeble wobble.
All right, 4th and 3. Yeah, this is the territory where you might as well go for it because a punt's going to give you probably not very many yards. Oh, they called timeout.
It's windy tonight.
Was supposed to be inclement weather. I didn't look at any updated weather reports in the last 10 hours or so I'm not entirely sure what how bad it's going to get tonight, but I know it's supposed to be a weather game.
A weather game. That's so football. What kind of injury does he have? A knee.
Yeah.
He's got a knee. It's a weather game. Oh, there's weather at the game? Yeah. He has a knee? Yeah, he has a knee.
Take a shot when they show Taylor Swift. All right, that actually will kill me.
No.
I got no plans for doing that.
Dude, your wife would not forgive me if we allowed that.
Especially if I come out smelling like spicy pickles. She wouldn't like that.
I'm just flashing back to the first Iron Man movie. You coming out of your studio and be like, let's be honest, this isn't the worst thing you've caught me doing. Which would be true also. even if we're just limiting it to, alcohol frollies.
Nice little loose bunch to the field here. Ooh, are they bringing it? Yes, they are. Russ gets out of it again.
You're a little ahead of me tonight.
Then takes the sack.
More than a little bit, actually. This sort of gap in streaming is so difficult. Like, it's one of my least favorite things going.
Well, you live in the middle of a forest in Washington State, so
it's true, but I could turn on one of the other two TVs or my laptop on Wi-Fi and get a completely different viewing experience than my hardwired PC monitor that's through Ethernet. Like, what are we doing? How can we have 6 different viewing experiences on 6 different devices? Like, why is that a thing?
The wide receiver Dalton line is, would they be wide receiver 1 in New England? Jeudy absolutely would be wide receiver 1 in New England. So would most of the league, to be perfectly honest. Because their wide receiver 1 right now is Kendrick Bourne, who's a wide receiver 3 on most other teams. Juju's a wide receiver 4 or 5 on most other teams. Their best receiver is probably Pop Douglas, if I'm being totally honest.
Did you see that he was on the list, top 10 in beating man coverage, single man coverage in the league?
Not surprised by that.
Yeah, he was higher, actually, than Josh Downs, who we talked about. You'll see that on either tomorrow or Saturday's podcast, whenever that one comes out. Talked about Josh Downs being top 10. I think he's number 9 in the league at beating single man coverage. And Demario Davis, I think, was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. He's quick.
Yeah.
Jared for $2. The red orb on linebackers and DBs means likely to blitz. Oh, okay, for Prime Vision. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was going to say, I saw that one and I was like, what is this, a Hal comment?
Well, Sam was mentioning that to me, that they were doing a test run on it about a month ago, and it's a new feature they've been trying to roll out. And how it works, if I recall correctly, based on my conversations with folks that knew, is it uses like the chips in the uniform and kind of like tracks spacing and then goes on like historical trends for odds of how often they blitz out of the position, the real-time position that those chips happen to be in, if that makes sense. And
so basically they're using about 100 times of the computing power as the first moon landing to decide whether or not a guy's going to go forward or backward.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Now, don't quote me on it, but I think that's what they were developing, was basically like a real-time model based on positioning of the chips in the uniforms to determine, based on historical trends, whether they're going to blitz, which is insane that that's what football broadcasts have now. But that's what football broadcasts have now. Meanwhile, first downs are determined by some 75-year-old dude with a chain. So
that's right. And an index card. Don't forget the index card. Very, very important. If you don't have your index card, what will you do?
Such a weird sport that we cover.
God. Well, no doubt about that. James Burgess said loot run on EJ's garage. You find some interesting stuff in there, the least of which I think would be the bad alcohol cupboard. There's some. Well, I do believe the Oregon absinthe is out there. I think it's found its rightful
It's probably
place.
going to stay there forever.
Hey, I can't think of an occasion where I'd be like, you know what I want tonight? I want some absinthe.
Oh, Isaiah Pacheco, you psychopath. I love him.
I think I would sooner grab like, oh, look, leftover battery acid.
I will say, when we saw Pacheco at Shrine Bowl,
yeah,
we liked him. I didn't expect that.
Well, one thing about, and we've said this multiple times, and it's not just Shrine, it's all-star games in general they are not great for running backs. They're just, there's not a lot of contact, which you're not going to see a guy like Pacheco put that sort of ground pounding power to the test at an all-star game, because it's, touch them, keep them up. Nobody goes down in practice.
Travis Kelce's just fucking making it up as he goes along.
Well, doesn't he always?
He caught it, and I think he was like, well, I'm not going to get yak out of this, and just yeeted it over to Noah Gray. That's awesome. He turned and looked. He's like, I got 3 Broncos around me. I'm just going to throw it over here.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh, my God. Also, Pacheco had a great blitz pickup in protection on that one too.
Oh yeah, because he started right and came back left. That is, for those of you that don't understand running back blitz protection pickup, that's rare. That the guy sees him coming off that wide of an angle, that he started to the other side and then came back. Special stuff.
Take a shot for every lateral.
Oh, now the Chiefs. Does that include shovel passes? Oh man. Okay, one of my favorite bits going in the NFL is all the folks who every time Travis Kelce catches a pass like that last one moan, man, they know it's coming. Why don't they just cover him? I'm like, yeah, do you think that no defensive coordinator has thought of that yet? I mean, really? Like,
maybe we should cover the greatest receiving tight end of all time.
He's clearly the number one receiving option in Kansas City and has been really clearly since Tyreek left, and it was debatable before that. And you think that defenses are coming in going, I don't know what we're going to do about 87. Let's just plan for everybody else. Like, no, everybody every week is trying to stop that, and he's still beating it. That's how good he is. And yes, I realized.
Pat almost gifted us one there. Was that, McMillian? I thought it might have been Damari. So it was a quarters look, and they ran a sprint out to the right, and they had a speed out there that was supposed to kind of flatten itself underneath the corner that was zoning off, and it looks like the nickel was just on his horse the entire time, looking at Pat the whole way. He got lucky there. All right, another quarters look here. Broncos do love their quarters. And so far, a lot of the offensive success for the Chiefs has been either crossing routes that are settling down over the middle or seam routes that are settling down just behind the hook zone defenders.
Crossing routes that are settling over the middle as a crossing route over the middle that settles gets caught.
Exactly.
That's that's timely. But again, you bet on Yak for Rashee Rice.
Yeah, not catching immediately, get tackled.
His yak on that play is like negative 0.25 yards. And I think you should be beholden to that. I think you should have to make that up.
Oh, like as in if you get negative yak?
Just kidding. Yeah, if he does the loop thing, if he drops 3 yards because he thinks he's going to loop around and the defense drops him, I think you get -3 and you got to make that up.
Honestly, my most rage-inducing thing that I ever see receivers do is when they
oh, that's a long list.
These fucking guys, when they catch the ball at the sticks, and it's especially when it's third down, they catch the ball at the sticks and then they retreat a few yards because they're trying to get a better angle for yak, and then end up getting tackled before they can move the chains when they were already past the sticks. Anytime a receiver goes backwards, I lose my mind. It happens all the time. There's one guy ever that gets away with it. It's Tyreek Hill. Unless your name is Tyreek Hill, you should never, ever do that.
It's generally a very poor choice for receivers. It is, however, not my biggest beef with wide receivers.
What's your biggest beef?
Guys trying to catch balls in their body like this.
Oh, rather than kind of doing the cup and the elbow.
Like, get your hands out where you can catch a ball. I don't care where it is. Get your hands in front of it. Don't do this. Don't do this. I saw a guy try and catch one like this the other day as it was whistling by him, and he went, "Oh," and I was like, "That looks like a fifth grader."
I think
no offense. That looks like somebody that just
it depends on what the coverage is, right? Because if there's a hang defender, you don't want to extend because you're just going to get tagged in the ribs. And so
sure,
what Keenan does,
you can put your hands up like this as opposed to trying to like cradle it with your forearms like a crab. Don't do that.
Keenan has an interesting technique where, like, let's say there's a hang defender over here, and he doesn't want to pluck because he's literally just going to be leaning into a shoulder and getting blasted. He'll go one arm like this, and then one arm like this, and he'll like guide it into the elbow and use the elbow as a pocket, and then kind of like It's
young receivers, look away.
hey man,
You cannot do this.
if you're Keenan Allen, you can do it.
I'm telling you, young receivers, look away, because we'll have like fifth graders out there going like this, trying to catch balls, and it's going to be so sad because they're not going to, the first 100,000 of them are not going to be able to touch it like that. So
It's so he just makes a funnel out of his body and it works. It works.
He does a lot of things that other people can't do. Keenan's a very underrated wide receiver, and in terms of what ifs, I do wonder what his career would have been like, how his career would be viewed. It's already viewed very favorably, but how much more favorably it would be viewed if he had not suffered as many injuries early in his career. He's been generally healthy for the past couple of years, but like he missed a lot of time early, and that was the knock, is Keenan and soft tissue. He's always going to miss a bunch of time, but when he was in there, he's devastating. So good.
Yeah, he's one of the most productive receivers of his generation, which is now a generation that's been around for 10 years. He came in, I think he came in the same year that D-Hop did. Was it 2013, I think it was?
Been around a long time.
So he predates Mike Evans. He predates Odell.
Yep.
Devontae, I think, was also in 2014. So, he's one of the elder statesman receivers. He's like 31 at this point.
Fuego with a super chat for $2. Don't want to miss it. Brett and EJ, your content is amazing. Keep it up. Thank you very much. We
Appreciate
fully
that.
intend to. Underdog has made sure that whether you love it or hate it, it's going to be here for a little while. So buckle up. We like that you love it. That's awesome.
And if you hate it, that's okay too, because you're still here. So
yeah, right. If you're hating and following and checking out and commenting, you're helping out. We appreciate that.
All right, 21 personnel are from the Broncos. Oh, there goes Javonte. Okay. File that away. 2 back runs might work against Kansas City. That's the second one they've popped so far tonight out of 2 back runs.
They had a couple on the first drive where they didn't make contact at the defensive line, which means the running back is getting, 2-3 yards at least before contact, which if you have guys like, Javonte Williams, or really any professional running back, and you give them a free 2 or 3 yards, look out.
That lead block from Burton, by the way, in the hole, I couldn't tell if it was Gay that he dug out, but Russell. Was that Bolton? Yeah, Bolton got it. Oh, man, just when we were starting to praise the Broncos. Bolton got tremendous depth as a hook dropper there. He was really, really deep, which is what you want. You want your zone droppers to get depth.
You know why he went that deep?
Specifically because he hates Jerry Jeudy? Why?
Film.
Yeah.
Nobody goes that deep without film. Like, he knew. He was gathering his jump. He was dropping. He knew he could be there for that. He'd seen that. Like, pure up, he'd seen that. He's a great athlete. It was a great play. You don't make a play like that without film typically.
I couldn't tell the route that he was undercutting, but given the coverage they were in, it wouldn't surprise me if it was just a seam that got sat down. And Nick was like, well, I got nothing underneath me, so I might as well just keep going deep.
Yeah.
hope he throws me the ball.
That's when people get on spot drop, and they should get on spot drop. Spot drop zone is outdated. It is easy to beat, especially if you know it's coming. It doesn't really have a place in the pro game anymore. But the only way you can get away with even a somewhat close variation of that is if you have players that understand, hey, I'm not guarding this grass. I'm guarding any threat that is in this grass or may come into this grass. And if there's nobody in front of me, I need to be looking at what's happening behind me, and in this case, just add depth because there are no threats. If you have players that can realize that and react quickly enough, you can play some version of an outdated semi-spot drop, but you cannot guard grass. Guarding grass does not work, and you will get picked apart. But when folks realize, hey, there's nothing in front of me, there's no threats, I need to go find threats. It's kind of like offensive linemen looking for work. I need to go find threats. Hey, the threats are back here. Hey, if I get deep enough and get my hands up, at least I could knock this thing away. Or ideally, do what Bolton did there and give my team an extra possession. Look, if Kansas City gets a lot of extra possessions against the Broncos, this game is not going to be pretty. Brett's not going to be sober. It's not going to be great. Somebody said it's shot time. No. He didn't agree to it. And we only said if it was the Chiefs that threw interceptions. We didn't say we were not trying to hurt him and bet that Russ's interceptions would count too.
All right, here's a nice little all 22 view of it. So it looks like they were in some kind of, is that quarter, half? And then, yeah, Nick had nothing in front of him, so he just kept going. And the fact that he was all the way on the hash and then on a 45 was just going. Throw me the ball.
He knew he had the hang corner for the running back. Running back was it, and that was covered, so he just like, I'm going to go help.
Kelce might have just got me my 32.5 yak right there, or at least close to it.
Oh yeah.
There's Taylor. Thank God I'm not shooting when I see Taylor.
No, that would be deadly.
Liam for $20 Australian. I think I got that correct, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, it even says in the thing. Just your favorite, just your favorite Australian saying, "Hello, do the Vikings blow everything up this year and try to salvage a playoff run? What's your take on Kwesi's tenure in Minnesota so far?" If they lose this week, yeah, they're probably going to blow that shit up. Whether or not that means trading Kirk, I don't know, because Kirk's price is Taylor's so into this. Kirk's price, I don't really know how to value Kirk because of how his contract is structured. Any trade for him would have to come with some sort of extension. Danielle Hunter, though, if they lose their next game, Hunter's probably gone because he would be the only other guy that I could think off the top of my head that's valuable that they could get something out of. But like, they need picks. And they might as well get picks while they can. They wanted to go up and get Anthony Richardson last year. They couldn't make that work. They're going to want to go up to get one of these quarterbacks. But they need ammo. So yeah, if they're staring down the barrel of 1-5 or whatever it's going to be, they're going to blow it up for sure. And then as for Kwesi's tenure, there's a lot of Vikings fans that are not super enamored with him, but also at the same time, you have to realize that he was doing the best that he could to not have to do a full teardown and rebuild. He was doing the best that he could to take what was already in Minnesota and try to what's the term that he used? It was basically like a term for a rebuild where it's like we're acknowledging we're rebuilding, but we're also not tanking. You know, basically just kind of throwing duct tape on shit as he goes. And this is now the first opportunity that he's going to have to do a true, like, we are bad, tear it down to the studs type of rebuild. And
yeah,
I'm not. Oh, was that a pick? Fuck.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I guess I'm doing pickle shots. God damn it.
It is a pickle shot. Sorry.
Shut the fuck up, EJ. Again, just wafting into my eyes. This putrid.
Yeah, I think you need like the construction goggles. I think so. So, yeah, that was too much. Very rarely do we see Patrick Mahomes do too much because it almost always pays off. He stayed in the pocket way too long. Normally, staying in the pocket's a good thing. He knows it. He stayed in the pocket way too long and didn't throw that thing where he wanted to or with authority, and it didn't pay off. That is the rare occasion when that happens because Mahomes, more than almost any other quarterback in football, as he goes longer in the play, his odds don't decline a lot. Almost every other quarterback, the later they go in the snap count or the later they go in the play count, the worse it gets. It's just like after 4.5 seconds, most quarterbacks should just like chuck it, just get it out of bounds, get rid of it. Mahomes, you're like, I don't know. He's got another half second to make something happen. And a lot of times he pays that off. Right there, it didn't look good at about 3 seconds. He was surrounded. maybe that's where the miracle throw occurs. Typically 2 seconds later, he throws a short arm pick to the goal line. And, our guy over here is doing pick goal shots.
That is offensively bad.
I didn't think it was going to be good when you sent me the picture and said this week's not going to be a lot better. I was like, ooh, I haven't seen that. That looks terrible.
Wicked Pickle. Who, if they ever see this, I want you guys to know, if you were aiming at making a liqueur whose sole purpose is to be passed around a group of buddies on a wedding day where they're taking terrible shots as a joke, you nailed it. Like this is going to be in every groom suite in America. Like that's what this is for.
Yarf. That is not a stunning endorsement, and not that
there's a niche for that. There's a niche for bad wedding alcohol. This is it.
I'm not saying that they're not smart or making their money for that particular niche, but what I'm saying is we were not looking for a sponsorship from them, and we ain't getting it either, which is great. Like I think both of those things are true and good.
I will. So I do have. Watching a Broncos game wearing a Chargers gear, and I have a whiskey from Kansas City. I might open the holiday right now because I need some good whiskey to wash this down.
Yeah, Pat knew that was terrible. They just showed the replay of that. Pat knew that was terrible, and his hand got hit as he threw it, but it got hit after he let it go. It was not a good pass from the get-go. Oh, is that Karlaftis? Yeah. Karlaftis coming screaming in on Jaleel McLaughlin, who's like, how does a guy that big move like that? Which is what a lot of people that play against George Karlaftis say.
All right.
Ooh, that's interesting. Justin Simmons, only player with 4 career interceptions versus Mahomes. And that last one was a gimme, but still.
Well, he's had a lot of opportunities.
Yep. True story.
All right. So for those at home, this is Ben Holiday is a distillery. What, 45 minutes north of KC, right?
Yeah, about that. Yep.
This is their soft red wheat whiskey, so it's a wheater, a 6-year-old wheater from Holiday, which is a fine distillery, also full of Chiefs fans. So again, watching a Broncos game, wearing Chargers gear, drinking Kansas City whiskey. Just full on AFC West night, but it smells really nice.
Oh, dude, I had that during the draft. So day after the draft, I went out to Holiday. I had the chance to go out to the Holiday Distillery with our buddy BJ Kissel, who is at this game, guy that runs KCSN, Kansas City Sports Network. And I had not had this yet. It was new, and they were setting up. They were doing a podcast before they had a party. Everybody coming in, kind of a post-draft watch party with a bunch of Kansas City alums in terms of players, but they were just setting up, and I was just kind of there, carrying some stuff and just basically sitting around trying to stay out of the way because didn't really have a function. It was the day after the draft, and I'd soloed the last day, so I was a little and I just walked up to the gal that was setting the bar up, and I was like, "Hey, that's new, the soft red wheat." She, "Oh yeah, we're really excited about it." I said, yeah, "Can I have some?" She was like, "Yeah, sure, here." So I got to drink a glass of that while I was watching the KCSN guys do their draft recap podcast. And I was like, I had a very similar reaction to you. Ooh, it's got some depth to it.
It's very nice.
Really, I like it a lot. It was really, really good. So
we're going empty on 1st and 10.
What? Where is Sean Payton and who stole his play sheet?
Are we going to get a Tampa
look? Tranquil's going nuts.
They did not have the numbers for a screen there. What do we... Hold on. Why would they... Was that a check? Did he check into a screen without having the numbers? Like, it was 3-on-2. What are we doing? That had to have been a weird check from Russ. I refuse to believe that they called that screen.
I do not have an answer for why that was a good idea.
Like, they straight up did not have the numbers. Okay, whatever. Man, this McLaughlin kid, I'm telling you, there's something there.
I'm fully aware.
I like this
I'm
kid.
glad you're on board.
D2 transferred to Youngstown State, so truly came out of frickin' nowhere by football standards.
He's
fun.
Yeah.
Katzen put me on to another gem, by the way, this week.
Oh, the receiver?
Out of Monmouth.
Monmouth, yep.
Yeah. He's had like 58 targets so far this year, so I put together a cut-up, which I still got to send over to Katzen, but I was like, that's an NFL receiver at Monmouth University. Let's go.
Yeah, sure enough.
He's good.
Know, as we've found out in this job, the difference, the reasons why guys end up in certain places, we always thought it was a little bit more sort of like striated, like, oh yeah, guys are in the SEC for a reason, guys are in, FCS for a reason, guys are in D2 for a reason. No, they went home to take care of their mom. They transferred because they couldn't stand the weather. They followed their dad as a coach. Like, there's as many reasons to move schools as there are players. And there are way more good players than we talk about every year, like 3 times more. There's like 1,000 good players coming out of college every year. And that's, those players go on to have really good careers now in the USFL, XFL, CFL. They go to Europe. There's a lot of opportunities for those players to continue their professional football journey. And, I get less and less surprised every year when we find guys at places like Monmouth, and you're like, okay. And you sit down and you're like, how'd you end up at Monmouth? And he's like, well, I had offers at, whatever, Rutgers and here and there. And I chose to go here because my sister was starting a business and I needed to work nights to help her out. And you're like, okay.
Or, Luther Ellis's kid, Noah Ellis, had offers from Georgia and Clemson. He was a 4-star, and he went to Idaho because that's where his dad was coaching. It's like,
yep,
you're still going to end up in the NFL anyway.
We're like, why is a guy your size and talent playing at Idaho? Because Idaho used to be a thing, and it's really not football-wise anymore. They downgraded their football program. And he's like, I followed my dad, who was coaching there. I'm like, good enough. Where else do you have offers from? He starts now, Clemson and Tennessee, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, again, just for, basically the sort of butterfly effect, you could have been one of the players we were talking about as an absolute stalwart nose tackle in the top, one of the top 2 leagues in college in the country. And instead you're at Idaho. Like that margin between good players is razor thin. Like, I used to think it was a much bigger drop, and look, it is for some guys, but at all levels. I mean, last year we went to UTSA versus Texas. A lot of people don't pay a ton of attention to UTSA. Sorry, man, you should. Like, UTSA is
Tariq
loaded.
Woolen just came out of there.
I know.
The running back they had that year.
Sincere McCormick.
Yes. They had a receiver, too, that I was really
they have
by.
2 big wide receivers who are really fast. They had 2 safety. They had a safety who was like 6'3", ran like a deer. I was like,
UTSA loves their like 6'3" DBs.
they have a lot of tall dudes.
They got a type, man. They got a type.
Again, a lot of people like Roadrunner. Oh, why isn't he playing at Texas? And like, the Roadrunners took it to Texas for that first half. They had the Longhorn faithful like worried.
Oh man, tackle for loss on 3rd and short. And here comes the punting unit. Also, it was Demir Miller. Mark, to answer your question, you're correct. It was him. He's good. He's really, really good. See, Mercer has NFL receiver. Yes, there's 2 future NFL receivers at Mercer, which, to my recollection, is a program that has never had a draft pick ever. And they got lineman, former Bucks lineman. Is that who you're thinking of? The one who went to the Senior Bowl, who just retired last year, Ali Marpet?
No, he didn't. No, Marpet didn't go to Mercer. There's another guy. Maybe he ended up as a UDFA.
Marpet went to a D3 school off the top of my head.
No, it wasn't Marpet.
Hobart. That's what Marpet was. Hobart, I think.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn that Mercer's never had a draft pick.
Well, he might have gone UDFA, but he was talked about.
Either way, they're going to have 2 this year. So it's awesome for them. Ty James last week had like 200 billion yards. Like, not even, 270 maybe was the more accurate number, but still fuckload of yards.
Oh, it's Poe. I wanted to say Poe, and I wasn't. For some reason, I just wasn't
Dontari
confident
Poe?
enough to do it. No. He's a guard. Jason Poe.
Oh, okay. I was like,
6'1".
Like Dontari Poe didn't go to Mercer.
No. Jason Poe, 6'1", 300 pounds. Get this, 300 pounds, 40-yard dash, 4.9 flat.
Fuck, it's crazy.
300 pounds. He had a 1.72 10-yard split.
Like when Teron Armstead was coming out of Arkansas Pine Bluff and ran 4.71
Right.
after training for the combine for like 2 weeks. He ran 4.7. It's like, what the fuck? Some dudes are just different, man.
Yeah. Poe had 34 reps at 225. So I think he might have ended up as a UDFA, but certainly
That's crazy.
Obviously
That's still
could have
crazy.
been drafted. Yeah. So maybe their streak continues that they've never actually had a draft pick, but there you go.
So 3-0 in the second quarter, just like we all predicted. Oh, Pack on the jump. So that'll be a free first down.
Yeah, I hate to say it because we just lambasted this game in the pregame, but this feels a little Steelers-Ravens to me. Like, the Chiefs have had a couple chances. They didn't need to throw the bad goal line pick. They could be up by 2 touchdowns pretty easily here, but they're letting the Broncos hang around. I'm not saying the outcome's going to be the same. I'm saying the early going.
Difference is I have a lot more faith in Kansas City to unfuck themselves than Pittsburgh.
On offense,
Yeah.
1,000%. Like, I'm not making that comparison. I'm saying just feel of the game wise, it's like they're letting them hang around. And they shouldn't. They should be burying them because, look, the Broncos haven't played great either, but the Chiefs are shooting themselves in the foot, and it's rough.
How much do the Chiefs use play action? Let me look that up for you. I'm actually curious myself.
Well, there's one right there.
I can look that up right now.
JT's least favorite play action when you're taking an outside shot to a wide receiver. Oh, boy, does he hate that. And rightfully so. He's like, why are we faking?
It's like, just get it out.
Who are we influencing here?
Now we're going empty on 2nd and 5. Oh, they might get Juwan Taylor for a hold there. Which Juwan Taylor is leading all offensive linemen in penalties this year, and I don't think it's particularly close either.
You're just gonna cede all fault in that discussion.
It 100% is my fault. The man never got flagged ever, and then I released a video and he gets 3 flags a week now on average. It's crazy. If you don't believe in the curse now, I don't know what to tell you.
I think most everybody believes in the curse, and everybody believes it's rubbing off on me, and I wish that was less true than it probably is.
Okay, I just pulled up the play action numbers. So the Chiefs run play action so far this year in the first 5 weeks, 17% flat, which is 27th in the NFL. Not a whole lot of play action.
Super often. The fact that there was play action on the play right after somebody asked that question could be considered curse-like.
Buccaneers are number 1, Seahawks number 2, Cardinals number 3.
Canales and Waldron.
Yep. Let's see. And then it's O'Connell, Stefanski, Titans, Falcons, basically everybody from the same tree, the same general West Coast tree is all the top 10.
Little CEH, good gainer there. Love to shout out CEH. Certainly has not lived up to a lot of Chiefs fans' draft expectations as a former first rounder, but productive football player in spots.
Oh, Pat, get it out. There's another shot to Kelce. And another instance of people wondering, why is Kelce wide open? And then you realize, it's because Pat's rolling to his right, so the defense is flowing that direction, and Kelce just stays in the middle because he knows Pat's going to throw the ball in the middle of the field regardless of where the defense is flowing.
And it looks worse because they're playing Vance Joseph.
You literally see Travis hooks up. He's looking at Pat. He sees Pat's going this way. And so Travis is like, all right, I'm going to run this way then because I know he's going to throw it cross body.
Yep.
It's just free yards. It's free yards.
I'm going to go against the grain while they all react, and I'm going to find the next available spot in this particular turnstile, and Pat's going to hit me on it.
They've been doing it for 6 years now.
Look at the ball placement on that screen, though.
Is that the one he just threw?
This is something that irks me. A lot of people think they think this play is a nothing play because it's a short throw. It is not a nothing play. And where you throw the ball on that play matters. And where Mahomes threw the ball on that play was right in front. He led the receiver, running back in this case, just in front of his helmet, turning him so he was catching it and facing the defender upfield. So many quarterbacks throw that ball behind their receiver on the screen and force them to turn, do almost a full 3/4 turn before they turn and face the defense. It's like making a quarterback turn his back to the defense and play action, then turn around and see a pass rusher in his face. It's not going to be as effective. If you throw that ball where Mahomes threw it, you set your receiver up for success. And so many quarterbacks throw that ball behind their receivers. Drives me nuts.
Man, I thought Pacheco... So, great patience at first for Pacheco, not just to run in the wall of bodies and then bounced it. I really thought he was going to break that, but Broncos reacted quickly. That was almost such a nice run.
They have a lot of good speed to the outside. And, we talked about it a little bit at the top in terms of, the Broncos have dudes. They have athletically talented dudes on this defense, and they can pinch you off to the outside. That is a skill they have. If you try and go lateral on them, it's not great. They have suffered when folks have gone right at them and run through the middle of their defensive line, for sure.
Another ball to Kelce. I think it's 5 already now.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was our Kelce over? Tell me we took a Kelce over. Some Kelce over.
I took the yards after catch. He's at 34. He just hit it. So we are 1 down.
Always bet on Kelce. It's the opposite of the Khalil Shakir rule. That's going to be our lead pipe lock name is the Travis Kelce bet.
That and Tyreek Hill overs.
Yeah.
You're good.
Travis Kelce bet is anything that is almost guaranteed to cash, and Khalil Shakir is anything that makes EJ really nervous pregame.
All right, so 1 down, 4 to go. Oh God, Pat. Doing Pat stuff. Did he hit that? No way.
Pat
okay,
doing
no.
Pat
Incomplete.
stuff.
Incomplete. You'll see it. Okay. I just clicked it. Let's see if that worked.
All right. Apparently, I'm going to have to wait like 2 minutes for YouTube to catch up to find out if it's actually back.
Okay. Chat, if you can see us.
No, they say, okay, well, they're not.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Go back.
We're good. I truly don't know what the hell just happened.
Brett broke the internet. Yes, Brett broke the internet. It's Brett's fault. Always Brett's fault. If you're not sure, just blame Brett. It works.
Yeah, my OBS just all of a sudden died.
Yeah, no, we were done last night with Bears Over Beers, and it was Lester guest spotted last night on Bears Over Beers, which is fun with JB and I, and we had a Halloween candy draft.
Where did Candy Corn go?
Candy Corn did not go. It was undrafted.
That's like the Halloween candy. It's not supposed to be good, but it is iconic.
It is true, and everybody brought a different approach to this. Anyways, we were talking after the stream had ended, and the entire house power blinked out. Like TV shut off, lights shut off, everything else. So I think they probably thought I ghosted them. I texted them real quick, said, "Hey, house power shut off," but it was just for a second. But everything shut down, and I was like, "Well, that's interesting." So, anyways, it happens. Glad OBS is back. Glad you're all back. Thanks for hanging with us on. I don't know. It's an interesting game.
So we just had a Chiefs trick non-field goal that turns into a sneak. I didn't actually see if they converted it because I was fixing OBS. It sounds like they didn't.
Let's see how far they'd have to get. They have to get all the way to the. Is that the 5?
No, they didn't get it. Oh man. Well then. It's been that kind of game.
Okay, so another, Chiefs trip to the red zone, and they come away with no points. They are letting the Broncos hang around. And look, the Broncos are not a super dangerous team, certainly not defensively. Obviously, the Chiefs have marched down into the red zone a couple of times here in the first quarter and a half and come away with nothing.
For
I'm not
me,
exactly crediting the defense yet.
for me, my thought is why run that sneak there? Like why now? This is not a game where you have to quote unquote steal a red zone possession. Like the Broncos are not a huge.
Keep this up.
I mean, maybe, but like why now and not like if you're in a back and forth shootout with Cincinnati later in the year or whatever. Like why now?
Maybe they're just testing it out. I don't disagree with you on timing. Want to give Russell credit for that little sidearm shot that he wedged in there to Dulcich. That's a nice play. That's a play that we saw Russell make, a couple 2-3 years ago. We did not see him make a lot of those last year. Those are small plays that, again, it's not a big deal. It's not like it's first down or anything. Whoa, that guy got the hell beat out of him. Yikes.
Chat also made a good point. If you are going to go for it on fourth down and you have Patrick Mahomes, maybe you should let Patrick Mahomes do it. Valid point.
Not gonna argue.
Very valid point.
Not gonna argue. And look, they made it I'm sure Broncos fans are like, EJ, we know. This is why the Broncos are frustrating. They make it 3rd and 5. They make it 3rd and manageable, and don't execute. Chiefs tip the ball coming off the edge. We talked about it.
They will.
Karlaftis gets a hands up. Yep.
God.
Karlaftis.
Hell of a punt.
Haven't seen it yet, so. Did you happen to see the shot of the Chiefs fan cheering with the massive gash over his eye? And like, oh, he got the hell beat out of him, man, like freshly.
Somebody got into a fight in the stands?
Or maybe the parking lot. You never know. Or maybe he's a carpenter and he just didn't see the 2x4 that was swinging around.
Well, almost had him.
Oh, sorry. Oh, shot of Matt Nagy. I'm gonna have to go get some ice.
No, here, I got something for you to.
You got some pickle.
Wash
well,
down.
I got a bottle of Irish whiskey right over there. I guess I could just pour it in the coffee cup.
Yeah, might as well.
That seems reasonable. I'll be right back.
I'm alternating between whiskey and coffee myself because always mix your uppers with your downers. Okay. Substance abuse 101. Got to use them together. Or you're not cool.
I don't know. I don't think it's, it doesn't have to be abuse. Can it just be use? Substance use 101? Teach this in schools. This is the Egan's single malt Irish. The Fortitude. Yeah. Irish whiskey matured exclusively in Pedro Ximénez casks. So it's got all kinds of
wonderful little sherry notes. Yeah.
Tertiary notes. Yeah. It's good stuff. And it's not, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, stuff's like super rare. I was like, no, this is Total Wine stuff. This is pretty easy to get at your sort of mass liquor stores. But yeah, good stuff.
Tallahassee says, Brett, everyone's talking about Kirk being traded. Do you think Justin Jefferson could be traded if they keep stinking up there? Get more assets for their future QB next year. Red would look great. Oh, there's the motivation. Red would look great. Gee, I wonder if this is a Chiefs fan who wants to send the 32nd overall pick for Justin Jefferson, as if you don't need to triple that price to even get close. Also, if they want assets for a young quarterback, the asset is Justin Jefferson, so they're not going to trade him. Like Jefferson is one of the only untradeable pieces they have. Maybe the only untradeable piece they have. Like he's not going anywhere. I agree though. For science, I would like to see Mahomes throw to Jefferson just cause.
For science,
why not? Why not?
That's great. Somebody was like, Matt Nagy jump scare. We are getting close to Halloween. It's true.
You'd have to trade Mahomes to get Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Minnesota would do that trade.
Yeah. You think? Man.
NFL trivia, which player led the NFL in penalties last year?
Yeah, we put that one up to chat. I don't know. Did anybody get the right answer? Because I did not have the right answer. And I actually have something we could send out if we can identify who the person is that won.
My best guess would be probably an offensive lineman.
Oh
Let's
my
see,
God.
who struggled? Probably like
Mahomes?
Donovan Smith, right? Or
I mean,
Donovan
it's a
Smith had
good
a
guess.
bunch of penalties last year.
Yeah, it's a good guess. Mahomes to Kelce is so automatic that I feel like we're kind of just all calloused to what we're watching, which is NFL history occurring every week right in front of our eyes. You know, and everybody just moans, why don't they stop it? Because they can't. Like, they've been trying for years. This is not an unknown. This is a very high profile, one of the most high profile connections, and they can't stop it. They're trying and they can't do it. That's how good it is.
I feel like they just keep bringing Taylor Swift to all these games so that Travis balls out. Got to impress the girl, man.
Got to impress the girl. Come on. It's why great guitarists are born. Like, why'd you start playing guitar? How many guitarists are like, dude, I wanted to get girls? Like, there you go.
The only thing that chicks dig more than scars is 100-yard games, EJ. Smith had 12 penalties. Oh, Landon Dickerson. Okay, that one I didn't see coming. But, I was in the ballpark. Donovan Smith is only one behind.
Now chat has to adjudicate this and find the first person that said Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, I'll leave that up to the mods to tell me.
Yeah, no. Mods have to find the first person and get me a shipping address because I have something. We were gifted something. You don't even know this.
We were gifted something?
We were gifted something. Something we did not order.
Kelce again.
And I know it's like, is that a replay? No, it's live. Oh, is that a replay? No, it's live. It's just, Mahomes to Kelce, Mahomes to Kelce, Mahomes. He was literally covered as well as you can cover him right there. He still caught that ball. So
he's at 6 for 90, and we're halfway through the second quarter.
I know. You know what's funny though? Is like Taylor Swift probably thinks that lots of people are this good at football.
Yeah, she thinks this is totally normal.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know, he's good. I'm like, no, it's not that.
Her first impression of football is like, oh, so tight ends just make every play. Like that's.
Oh yeah, they're the best player on the field, like always, right? Well, in his case, often, yes. I think I put it in the other room. I'll grab it at halftime and I'll show you what we were gifted.
It's 7 for 109 now. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I mean every time you look down, it's Mahomes to Kelce, Mahomes to Kelce. You know how much he means to this offense because in the games that he missed, they looked like they were not there. We talked about this on the episode that's coming out either tomorrow or Saturday with Burrow and the Bengals, right? That everybody's been saying, oh, well, when Joe gets healthy. Well, when Kansas City was sputtering on offense, there was a lot of, well, they didn't have Travis Kelce. And it's true. When he comes back, they are a transformed offense because it is what it reminds me of is Aaron Rodgers to Devontae in the prime, right?
Where there's nothing you could do.
Yeah. With nothing you could do, and anytime they needed any yards, they just flipped it, and everybody's like, "Why don't they stop him?" And everybody's like, "They're trying, they can't." And it's the same here. Like he has him open pretty much whenever he wants to, and even when he's not open, that crossing route that he caught, the last pass he caught, I think, unless I missed one while I was talking, which is possible.
It's very possible at this point.
He was covered. Like that guy's on his hip. That is covered. That's not even really NFL open. That's Mahomes and Kelce open only. And he just lofted in there, like, no problem. And there is the easy touchdown.
The Kadarius Toney redemption arc starts now, folks.
Well, it better because that little jet sweep they ran to him earlier, he didn't even look like he was running. I didn't mention that, but I was like, what is that? Is he hurt? So I'm glad he gets the touchdown. It is nice to see a guy that gets completely vilified for a single performance early in the year, work his way back into the rotation, make a positive difference. I'm not going to pretend to be a big Kadarius Toney fan. I'm not. I do like to see guys get up off the carpet and respond. Like that is a thing. I enjoy people who could do that.
Chat, you're right. T Swift was an Eagles fan, or is an Eagles fan. I mean, I guess it still counts. You could root for both brothers at once, right?
You just get a Kelce jersey.
Her and Donna just both get the split jerseys. That makes sense.
They could get two jerseys, cut them, sew them together, and have the alternating halves.
Might as well.
Sure, it's recycling at its fine, or
Yeah.
upcycling or something. It's not recycling. But
Yeah, her family I think was from Pennsylvania, so I think she grew up in Eagles.
yeah, she is from while missing Pennsylvania. How do I know this? Because I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Like I don't.
That's
I'm fine with
probably
Taylor
some
Swift,
random Pennsylvania town over near your hometown in middle of nowhere, New York.
roughly, but that's not the reason I know why. There is another very famous, the second most famous person from while missing Pennsylvania is somebody you know well, and you've been on his show.
Who?
Ross.
Tucker?
Yep.
Wow. Really?
Yep.
How about that?
He and Taylor Swift are from the same town, and he's a big Taylor Swift fan because, grew up in the same place, and he's actually like taken his family to Taylor Swift shows like a couple of years ago before the Eras tour. Just like been like, all right, wow, missing Pride, like let's do it.
So what you're saying is my bacon number for Taylor Swift is like at least 2, but no more than 5. I'll take it.
I would say it's probably lower than that, given all the people that you know and interact with.
Yeah, I'll have my people reach out to her people. Let's see how this goes.
Hey, bootleg could use it. Let's do it. We'll take the boost. We'll take the overnight Swiftie to 1 million boost.
All the Swifties come in our comment section. Who's this really sad man drinking pickle whiskey? How do we help him?
Oh man, I'm just writing fan fiction in my head about Swifties showing up at your door, like ushering you to rehab because they really want the rest of your life to be excellent. You're like, no, I got it. It's a thing for the internet. Like no, that doesn't sound good. Wait. Oh.
Slutty JPEG for $2. Thank you, Slutty JPEG. Should the Bears trade for PS2? I assume you mean Patrick Surtain. Their problems are so much deeper than just Patrick Surtain. Also, in order to get Surtain, they need a first-round pick, and they need those first-round picks to potentially get Caleb or May. So, no. Unless they somehow end up with, like, a mid-first-round pick, like somewhere in the late teens, which is not impossible, but highly, highly unlikely. Like...
They've invested a lot in the secondary. Certainly in Ryan Poles' first draft, that's where the high picks went. A lot of Bears fans were not okay with that, didn't understand. They really either wanted to build from the inside out with our offensive line or defensive line. Instead, Poles started building from the back. That's where he saw opportunity in his first draft, going out and spending even more assets on another secondary player when that hasn't been your major downfall after you've already invested in it. I mean, I'd love the player, but in reality terms, for all the reason Brett listed and the reasons I listed, not really. No.
Josh Hall says, I think the yak on underdog is broken for Kelce. I think you're right. It somehow went down to 29. So something definitely broke. I can literally guarantee you that they're probably fixing it right now. I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, this is not a super chat, but I'm calling it out. Owen Hone. I have family in Wyomissing, and we visit all the time. Who knew there would be a Wyomissing shout-out tonight? Small world. There you go. That's why you come to Bootleg. One of my favorite things about Bootleg is that we have listeners, watchers, fans, patrons all over the world, like literally all over the world, and it's so cool to me that people in like a couple hundred at this point countries have consumed Bootleg content in one form or another. That's so cool.
I'm sure at least some accidentally, but we appreciate them all.
Oh, yeah. Like they clicked on the picture of the really, whatever and ended up with us somehow. Like, sure, I'll take it. I don't care. I always wondered what that one like Lithuanian listener was in for. Again, they were like, why is the sad man drinking not enough?
Why is he doing Malort shots? We don't even drink that in Sweden. Because I'm stupid. Chat. That's the answer. I'm stupid.
Foolishness.
Echo Warrior for $10. Thank you, Echo. I could see the Chiefs taking Chase Roberts out of BYU. You've got the Reed to BYU connection. The guy's 6'4" with speed and fantastic hands. Plus, he's a true deep threat to add to their arsenal. I mean, any weapon at this point, any weapon, like any position on offense other than offensive line and quarterback, they can take right now and justify it. Like they just need somebody besides Travis. Like that's literally the number one thing. So I agree with you. And dudes that are 6'4" and can run fast and could potentially do the MVS role, but better than MVS, like, yeah, sign me up. But they got to take somebody. Dude, it's the Broncos. It's the Broncos.
I guess because the Broncos is the only answer for that, whatever it was, that failed rollout. I got it. I don't got it.
Why we're taking a mid-30s Russ and trying to get him to the edge for a short yardage conversion? Like, your guess is as good as mine, but it's the Broncos.
I want options for Russ there. There was nobody open downfield on the all-22 on that side. So give him something else. Give him a little chip leak on the backside. Don't make it like, okay, if these two guys are covered, because a lot of times they have been for the Broncos this year, don't make it Russ versus the world. And that's what they left him with, was Russ versus the world, and it was a predictable result. Like, he's not going to win versus the world. At best, that's a throwaway. That doesn't feel good enough to me as an offensive play designer to say, okay, if these two guys get covered, and they've been covered a lot this year, you just chuck it. And that's what that play was. And it ended somewhat predictably. All right, we should catch up on Super Chats. We got ads here.
Let's see. Fade for $5. I thought on a short week that Kelce would sit out after his ankle issue. I have Laporta currently, though. Well, Laporta, he didn't practice today because he also is apparently banged up. So this could potentially be a nightmare scenario for you if you're sitting Kelce and then Laporta also doesn't go.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That could be the combo losing scenario right there. Paxman for $2. Thank you, Paxman. I saw she was there, she being Swift. I bet all of Kelce's overs. That seems a legitimate strategy. There was an investment strategy years ago with whatever Oprah touched or mentioned, because it all went up. Like, you just bought companies that Oprah like highlighted, and that was the strategy.
It actually worked too.
I think it's a very similar strategy. Like, bet Kelce overs when Taylor Swift is in the audience. Yes, go for it. Do it.
If I recall correctly, the Oprah strategy beat the S&P by like double.
It was a very solid strategy in the prime years for sure.
Adjusting my little monitor brightness.
Wade Knoll for $9.99. Are my Steelers gonna be okay with Pickett? Is it all Canada? Maybe and no, but it's tough to pull the two apart right now. Kenny, I gotta say that Kenny has been one of the great bait and switches of recent times. He looked so sharp in the preseason, and we get to the regular season, and man, all the things that people were worried about with Kenny Pickett when he was drafted have been like displayed and brightly shown at the forefront. It has not been pretty.
They've been worse too.
Yeah. Is there blame with Canada?
Yes.
100%. You've got a video coming about that. You're not the only one. You're joining the chorus at this point. It's did you see Doug Farrar's tweet like 3 weeks ago, and it said the Steelers are basically South Park, and one was they killed Kenny and the other one was blame Canada. Strong work from Doug. Very strong work. But there's blame to go around here. That's why I say maybe. It's very difficult to separate quarterback and play caller. It's one of the most important relationships in all of sports. If it's not working on either side, or just the communication is faulty between the two, it's tough to pull the results apart. Very rarely does a play caller look really good if the quarterback's screwing up, or vice versa. And Kenny has a bunch of skills. We saw them start to develop at the end of last year. There was hope. He looked really good through the offseason. Now he looks demonstrably worse than he did at either one of those 2 times.
Fuck, Pat! God damn it!
This is what about a 6-second lag will get you.
All right, that flag
punt.
better get it. Oh no, hold on. There's a flag, my friend. I might not have to drink it.
Oh man.
Hold on.
Dream Jackson's like,
wait. All right, we're safe. We're safe.
No, you're safe. Yikes. That was not a good ball. Like,
well, I think he might have seen a flag and then did a YOLO throw. Yeah, that was I'll buy that every time. I will say that. So again, I'm working on a video on Canada and Kenny and everything that's wrong. God, he almost got picked off again. I will say it's probably going to come out after the Rams game because I'm going to the Steelers-Rams game at SoFi on the 22nd. So I'm going to be there live, and I think I'm going to have it come out after that. And boy, if they look bad against the Rams again, like there really is no hope. But I think I'm going to film it at the stadium that day. So,
okay.
So I'm basically spending the entire next week charting the Canada offense and then going to the game and then doing a video on it.
Yeah, that's a great play by Mathis. I really like his break on the ball, his technique. Didn't hook the receiver hard enough to pull the flag. Gets his hand on the ball. If the defender gets his hand on the ball there, they're very rarely going to call that. You really got to hook him hard to make him sort of overcome that contact. Great break. Really good play by Mathis.
3rd and 10. We are getting close to no man's land. If they get to like a 4th and 1 here, they might just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like why wouldn't you? See, you're ahead of me.
Oh no, a flag. What's this?
Hold 79, maybe.
Hold on. Pat had the ball for like 6.5 seconds. It could be anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that might be a flag on 79 for a hold. We'll see.
Donovan Smith appearance. Speaking of penalties.
All right, mods. Did we figure out who I need to send the prize to?
I think it was the person who asked the question. I think it was Kier. Yeah, it was a hold on Donovan Smith.
Can the person that asked the question win? That's not fair.
No, I think he was answering it for us because we got it wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll just send him one out of, hey, it was a good question and spurred a lot of good conversation.
And as payback for this pickle whiskey.
Oh, do you, speaking of, do you have a way that I could send said person something in the mail?
Cure, who sent us the pickle whiskey? Yeah, he's a mod.
Okay, cool. We will make sure that he gets the prize that we were. Oh, Pat! Yikes! Not good.
Ooh, they were kind of sneaking over, like they wanted to time that snap for a block.
Little bit.
And then they held the cadence, so he backed off. All right, here's our weekly giant Mims return.
Yeah, look at the wind.
The pickle whiskey drinking man cannot be helped, Swifties.
Yeah. I thought that was a good one,
Johnny.
I thought that was a good one. And it can't be helped, doesn't need help. One of the two.
Storm
dog is broken. Okay, yep. You got Storm.
Storm says, how long does it take Jerry to realize that McCarthy and maybe Dak can't get over the hump?
Oh, how timely. We had this discussion on the recap pod that's coming out either Friday or Saturday. We dove into this one. We got the shovels out. Brett gave his take. I gave my rebuttal. Let's just suffice it to say the TLDR version is one. Brett Coleman thinks this is a must-win game.
Oh, straight up, he's gonna get fired if he doesn't win this game. It might not be immediately, but he's gonna get fired if he doesn't win this game.
And that's where we sort of agree, is that this might be the die is cast game for McCarthy. I don't think action will be forthcoming immediately. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't be. But this may be the one that you look back on and say, and largely where we sort of agreed and differed is on the word embarrassed, right? If the Cowboys get embarrassed against the Chargers, I fully agree. That will be the beginning of the end. If they play hard and lose, I think, unfortunately, all will be forgiven in Dallas land, because that happens a lot. Again, I'm well on record as saying I would not have hired McCarthy and would have fired him as soon as he said he lied. But you can't, of course, do that because you're on the hook. Coach contracts are guaranteed. But I never would have hired him in the first place. He would have been not even on my list of candidates to talk to, because I watched his entire tenure very closely in Green Bay, being a Chicago fan. And I was in no way interested in a quote unquote rehabbed Mike McCarthy. And then he just came out and flat out admitted he didn't do any rehab. He just shot some really cool B-roll sitting around his kitchen table with a bunch of other unemployed coaches and got like $6 million a year for it. So good for him. Like, get your bag.
Oh, it's more than 6.
Was it 10? I don't even know what it is.
That's usually going rate for NFL coach. I mean, top end of NFL coach market is 20. So
all right. So anyways, got a lot of money for lying, which, I can't advocate for that. But it's really a question of like, if they lose, which there's no guarantee that they lose, but if they lose and lose badly, yeah, that's probably the beginning of the end of the McCarthy era. Again, might not happen immediately, but it almost certainly will happen at that point. If they play close and lose, again, they'll just sweep it under the rug like they always do. If they win, all is well in Jerry world, but we'll see.
When he said TLDR, I knew it was going to be a long one anyway. Classic EJ. That's true. He can't help himself.
Oh, if you believe that, which is true, I will give you credit for that. Wait till Brett at an hour and 40 into our podcast says, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I'm like, dude, we're at an hour 40, then don't. Nope. 5 minutes later,
I just gotta say this one thing. Also, watch Chris Jones bend the edge here, lined up as an edge rusher. Watch how low he gets on Mike McGlinchey. God, he's ridiculous.
I went back. So nothing against Chris Jones. Chris Jones is awesome. Let me just preface this with that. McGlinchey,
he's bad.
Has been getting his ass whooped this year. Like, straight up from like week 2, I was like, because I was a fan of the Bears signing McGlinchey before they drafted right. They needed a right tackle. McGlinchey was available. He'd been solid. He wasn't going to break the market. I was like, yeah, get that guy. Oh boy, like maybe bullet dodged. He has been awful this year. Like, he has been getting absolutely just run by at will, like multiple times a game. It's not pretty.
$15 million a year, baby.
Good work if you can get it. You and I aren't that tall.
Miss Super Chat from Guy with No Vowels says, week 1. I'll say it again, and I said it before and I'll say it again now. Hollywood Brown to KC. That I would actually be intrigued by. He would play the deep threat role better than anybody they've had in the deep threat role since Tyreek. I think he's better than MVS. He's better than every receiver they have, honestly. The question is, what's the price? Because they're not going to give up a 1. They shouldn't give up a 1. But like a 2, like a late 2, knowing KC, a late 2 for Hollywood Brown. Yeah, I could do that. You could talk me into that.
I am not on that particular train. Riley Moss getting called for the penalty because he got pushed out of bounds and was the first one to touch the ball. But I am not on the Hollywood Brown train. I have never really. I've always thought Hollywood was kind of overhyped, and he was miscast in Baltimore as a true number 1. That's not his role. I don't think that's really ever going to be his role. I still see stuff like I see good stuff that he's done since he's gotten to Arizona, and then he comes out and he had an egregious miss. You can't even call it a drop because he didn't really touch it week before last. I'm not throwing a lot of capital that guy's way. If you get some kind of screaming deal because the Cardinals want to get rid of him, like sure, but I don't think that's going to happen.
It'd have to be at least a 3 because that's what they get in compensatory pick anyway. Probably, given the contract that he's probably going to get. Oh, yeah, God, Pat, you don't need to take that kind of hit. What are we doing? There's 4 seconds left. Come on now.
For Hollywood.
Another super chat. Jeudy versus Bateman, Mooney, or Mike Thomas. I would personally take Jeudy over all 3 of those. Personally, for me. I don't know about you, EJ.
Jeudy, Bateman, Mike. Yeah. No, Bateman is, for me, just sort of ever out there in the orbit waiting to have that big game, which I'm not sure is ever coming. Mike Thomas has played solid but not spectacular football since coming back from the injury in New Orleans. I don't know what Pat's complaining about there. Like, you're a runner, dude. You were not sliding. You were leading with your head.
Well, he's trying to draw a flag.
I know you're not going to easier. You're not going to get every Jordan call. You're going to get most of them because you're Patrick Mahomes and you deserve them. Let's be honest. But look, if you're going to beg for that flag, you've got to at least have your knee in front of your chin when you go down.
Yeah, you can't dive forward and then also.
Yeah, I rammed my head into him, and you're not calling helmet to helmet.
Wow, he got that. What a kick!
One of the more underrated kickers in the league.
Holy shit, what a leg.
Yeah, and look at the wind. Like, it's been windy all night.
That's an insane kick. Like, that is truly insane.
He is underrated. And, our buddy Tucker Franklin, who works for KCSN, is like, yeah, EJ, where you been? This is for you, Tucker. Like, absolutely give that guy his proper. That's a difficult kick outdoors and just crushed it.
Miss Super Chat, how do you fix the primetime problem? Every year these games are terrible and they overestimate which teams will be good. It's almost impossible to truly predict what teams are going to be. I mean, EJ and I try every year and we get it laughably wrong. Like, we're hoping to get 50%. That's good.
Yeah, it'd be great. That'd be great.
Good is getting 50% right. Mm-hmm. So how can the networks,
Well, and the way the league gets around this is with flexible scheduling. Flexible scheduling came in several years ago because of this, because predicting during the summer when they make the schedule 9 months later who's going to be good after injuries, attrition, additions, free agency, the draft, like, it's the butterfly effect times, like, just put it on Coke and like watch the butterfly go spastic and die. Like, you can't do it. So instead they said, we're going to give ourselves an out at midseason. We're going to be able to pick what the best game is out of a potential slate of games we can move. And it's, it makes for better entertainment. Certainly we don't get stuck with as many dogs. We're still going to get stuck with dogs. It's kind of like the draft, right? Everybody's like, why didn't they just pick all the good players? Like, the 30% hit rate is awesome. The way they used to have to do it, I do not in any way envy the schedule makers. At least they have some flexibility, and mostly they get it right. There's still a couple of games every year that fans are going to moan, oh, you should have moved X into the Sunday night football game. Like, yeah, it happens, but it's better than it was. The first half of the season, again, your chances for the first month are decent. Again, week 1 is always a crapshoot. Week 2, things are evening out. Week 3 and 4, you can probably hit it after that. Injuries, attrition, teams that you thought were going to be good, like the Giants, that are terrible. Things that, teams you thought were going to be terrible, like the Bucks, who are actually good and compelling.
Sometimes it's the Texans. They didn't get any primetime games because everybody looked at them and were like, oh, they're going to be ass.
Right.
But it's like, oh, no, they're actually like pretty decent. You don't know.
Very good flex candidate for the second half of the year. Like,
they will get flexed.
I would push for Texans games to be flexed into that spot because they're a compelling football team to watch right now. They're a lot of fun.
I'm not entirely sure if the second Texans-Colts game can be. I'd have to look at the rules for it. But, like, you're telling me that people wouldn't tune in to watch Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud tear it up? Like, of course they would.
Hope Richardson's shoulder heals up. It is a throwing shoulder. That is always worrisome. Don't want to miss a super chat. $5 from oh my God, shiny one. With Wilson's struggles in Denver, is he playing himself out of the Hall of Fame? Was he a potential Hall of Fame in Seattle? I feel pretty solid that Russ's chances for the Hall of Fame in terms of quarterbacks that are in there are real solid. His bona fides from Seattle are very difficult to argue with statistically, and the fact that he has a Super Bowl.
Here's the thing, though. We know the voters are very narrative driven. And just if the fact that the Bill Belichick narrative in 4 years can swing from greatest coach and greatest quarterback ever to now, oh my God, it was all Tom. Bill Belichick should be fired. He's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Bill Belichick is a 400 record without Tom Brady, fraud. Like, if the fact that Bill Belichick can have a narrative turned against him that quick, what do you think is going to happen to Russ? Like, by the time he gets eligible, people are going to be like, oh, you mean the Legion of Boom that won all the Super Bowls? And Marshawn that got, like, they're not going to give Russ any credit because of this. So
yeah, I mean, boy, it sounds really blasphemous to say that, Russ might go to being a seniors candidate, but
he might because of how they vote.
I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not. There is a heavy recency bias in the NFL, but like, if that came to pass, I have a hard time believing that a guy like Mike Sando, who is the guy that took over for the professor when he left for ESPN at the basically endowed chair for sports that he had built at the Tacoma News Tribune, and basically had to follow John Clayton if there is any possibility to do that, and has done so very, very well. Like Mike Sando writes for The Athletic. I can imagine an impassioned defense for Mike Sando before the seniors community. Like, come on, what are we doing here? And really laying out the sort of prime Seattle years where it largely was Russ. And then they dismantled the Legion of Boom after the Super Bowl, and Russ still continued to win them games and put up stats and do other things. Is he playing himself out? Like, honestly, if he'd played this year like he played last year, I would say, I don't know, that argument has a lot of credence because he played very, very poorly last year. He's played decent, not great, decent football this year. It at least gives a chance to maintain what I think is a very important legacy to football, like what Russ did for football. And people forget, like, yeah, they went to the Super Bowl before, but like, he was instrumental in getting them to win that Super Bowl. So
I guess it's a long way of saying we'll see. We don't know.
Oh yeah, we don't know. We're certainly not betting on it, put it that way. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked it.
Mark for $5 says, legitimately trying to use bootleg and film room as a teaching tool for my many Swiftie friends interested in seeing what Taylor's new man is about. I'm still thinking about doing a Swiftie friendly episode on Travis, like what makes Travis good, and basically wording it in ways that people who are new to football that, because I want to capitalize on this opportunity on behalf of football to, and it's going to sound
open up new markets.
It's going to sound bad, but I want to take the opportunity of like, hey, here's all these people that maybe never have seen the game, that never otherwise would have watched the game. They're now watching the game. How can I make them interested in it? Like, independently of watching Taylor. Like, how do I make them independently interested in football? Like, how can I make this episode in a way that will get them to, whether Taylor's there or not, tune in to watch a Chiefs game? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
I would love to contribute to that, but do you know what the scouting is that I would have to do?
Listening to every single Taylor Swift album?
I would have to scout Taylor Swift and the Swifties, not the football part. I got that part. I would have to be any value in that particular project. I would have to scout Taylor Swift.
I mean, the woman has a very iconic discography. It would take you a while to get through it, but there's some bangers in there. There's some bangers in there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just as a presence, like I am fully aware of where she sits in the pantheon of entertainers, entrepreneurs. Like she is, her bona fides like ring true regardless of what part of entertainment you're in. But no, I would have to, if we were going to translate it correctly, I would have to learn Swiftie language. That would be my scout.
Yeah, NBC last week made a very grave error because there was a song that she wrote about a particular street that she lived on in New York, and this was during the Chiefs-Jets game. And they made this like cheeky little reference to the street and everything like that. And they like literally sent some dude out there with a camera to get B-roll of this street that she lived on in New York that she wrote a song about. Perhaps not realizing that the song that she wrote about that street was full of like a lot of emotional pain and trauma and everything like that. And so all of Swiftie Twitter was like, why the fuck would you show that? And I'm like, oh, NBC, you're venturing into territory you don't understand. You got to be careful with this shit. Yeah. There's a lot of lore here, okay?
Yeah, there's power, but there's power for good and evil. Yeah. Yikes.
Like, there's some like 65-year-old cameraman that's been in the business for 30 years just taking shots of a street sign. He has no idea why he's there.
Whatever. Oh, man. That's good. All the Swifties like, how dare you?
No, legitimately, yes, though. Yeah. Camden for $10. Thank you, Camden. Why has Skyy Moore struggled / not broken out?
Really good question.
The main thing is they haven't been able to rely on him to be in the right spot at the right time. And I've literally seen this on film where he's sitting in a hole and Pat's like literally about to throw the ball, and then he shifts and Pat's like, no, God, stay there. Like he's used to how Travis moves, and I feel like he's trying to train the young guys like, here's when you sit, here's when you break, or here's when you move and get to the second window. And I feel like him and Skyy just aren't on the same page in terms of knowing how to do all the backyard football stuff that they do. And so the trust level isn't there. And then even when he is in the right spot, there's been some drops issues. So the trust level really isn't there. I don't think it has anything to do with Skyy Moore's talent, but like this offense relies, we've called it a vibes-based offense before, but in a lot of ways that's true. Like it relies on everybody being on the same page. And if you're not on the same page with Pat, you're not going to play. So it's as simple as that to me.
I feel like his routes and rules, this is Skyy Moore's routes and rules in college, were very different. I don't want to say diametrically opposed because I don't necessarily think of offenses that way, but they were very different. He was asked to do different things. He was asked to hit different landmarks, and he was real good at it. And his strength was playing 100 miles an hour, much like Isaiah Pacheco. In fact, I think he is the receiving version of Isaiah Pacheco in a lot of ways. He played 100 miles an hour, all snaps, all games, deep into the game. Didn't matter whether he had a lot of catches or none. He was always challenging defenders. But in terms of the skills he was asked to leverage in that offense versus what you said in terms of what Mahomes wants, and Mahomes and Reed really want in the Chiefs offense, they're not the same. And I think what attracted them to him and made him a very high pick was that approach to the game, that energy, that focus, and they said, we can figure it out in terms of making him expand his route tree and run some different concepts, run the same concepts in different ways, which is the translation that all college players make going from college to the NFL. And that part hasn't clicked like they thought it would. Like the energy's still there. Like, it's not that he's dogging it. He's not. He's trying really hard, but he's trying to do the things he knew how to do. And he hasn't learned the new language yet. Like you said, even in times when he has been in a spot, high leverage spot to make a play, sometimes he's dropped it, and it's just sort of added up to this sort of rolling snowball effect of like, he just hasn't, and some of it's draft position. Let's be honest. He was drafted very highly. If he was like a 4th-round pick, I think
Nobody
people
would care. Yeah.
Hey, Skyy Moore's doing fine. Like he's developing. If he, he turns into a real piece, that'll be great. Well, he wasn't. He was a high-round pick for a receiver for the Chiefs. That's a different thing. It comes with expectations, and if you fall short of those, people are going to be harsh about your performance, and they have been.
Nicholas Coyote for $3. Hey guys, what's the best bourbon you guys had? I'm assuming like what's the best bourbon we've had, I believe is what he meant to say.
Boy, that's a thing.
Trying to think what's in my cabinet over there.
Well, I'm going to say just because of and a lot of things that you experience in terms of whether it's foods or things you drink or whatever has to do with like time and place and the experience becomes part of it. For me, experience I just talked about, that I was at the Holiday Distillery right the day after the draft, and the head of marketing for Holiday was there talking to BJ. BJ was kind enough to introduce me. We ended up having a great conversation. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, have you had the hot?" And I was like, I don't think so. And for those of you that don't know about whiskey and bourbon aging, there are different places within the aging house that produce better bourbon quicker. There are spots that have the heat throughout the year or the cold or both, because you need that shift between warm and cold for the barrels to expand and transmit all that goodness into the white dog. Anyways, they have identified their hot space at Holiday, and this is stuff that was pulled out of their barrels in the good spot that was released really as a special edition. And it is warm. It is certainly hot as you drink it. It has a very high alcohol percent content. And he was like, "Oh," and he said to the bartender, like 2 hots, like right now. Like, "How do you like it?" And I was like, "Well, my rule, as you know, the first time I drink anything is to not put it over ice. Typically when I enjoy stuff, I tend to put it over ice. That's the way I enjoy it. But if I'm going to taste anything the first time, I don't want it cooled down or watered down. I want to taste it." So we got 2 glasses of this stuff straight, and generous pours because it's the head of marketing. And
it's hot.
that stuff was a ride. It was my 4th or probably 4th drink of the day, maybe 5th.
Oh yeah, somebody Ubered home
late in the day. Oh no, I was riding the whole time. I didn't drive. I was with BJ, so I didn't have to worry about that, which was very good, especially after that. But that stuff, again, because of the rarity, because you can't just go out to the store and buy it, because I was in the place that it was made, because I was given it by someone who is deeply invested in its heritage and success. Like, it was super fun. Would I want a whole bottle of it? I don't know. That'd be pretty dangerous, but it was awesome. It was a rare chance, and I really enjoyed it.
I'm trying to remember every bourbon that I've got in my collection, but I would say the one that I most consistently, like, I've never had a bad experience with it, and it's always a crowd pleaser. Anytime I have somebody else try it, they love it. Like, it is the most approachable, fantastic. It's the bourbon for people who think they don't like bourbon.
Yep.
And that is the Angel's Envy port cask finish. Like, if
Oh,
somebody thinks
totally.
they don't like bourbon, give them that. They will like bourbon. So
I fully
I would
agree
go with that.
100% endorsement. Great bottle. Really enjoy it. Interestingly enough, I don't think we had did we just have the Angel's Envy Rare? The first time we went to Shrine and we went to the liquor store, that really, I will just call it local liquor store in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
At like not necessarily a great time in the evening to be buying bourbon, and we were like, what are we gonna spend?
Yeah, that was a
this
really
extra money
dumb
on?
idea by us, by the way. But
I don't know. I got us a great bottle for the week, but I
true.
can't remember if that was just
that was the Angel's
the
Envy
rare.
Rye. That was the rye.
It was the rye.
I think so.
I thought it was the rare. Anyways, Angel's Envy, great stuff. Port cast finish is a cut above. I would agree. Great stuff. In terms of stuff you can get anywhere, I just got the Hudson, and I really like it. It's got some character to it, but it's not character I think that will turn people off. Like it's enjoyable. It's post notes, has a very sort of bourbon forward approach, and then some interesting tasting notes on the back that are not wild or scary or hot or whatever. Really, really solid bourbon. Really enjoy it. So the Hudson is great.
All right, Chiefs driving here.
And Kelce gets another catch.
Kelce gets another catch. A lot of dink and dunk, which is kind of the new. Speaking of Skyy Moore, got that catch there. That is kind of the new Chiefs' identity. It's a very yak-based offense. It's very quick hitters. It's work in the middle. It's Pat playing point guard more so than being
they don't
the 3-point shooter.
Yeah, they don't have the 3 or 4 years ago, Tyreek on deep cross. That does not really exist in their offense.
No, but they're winning in different ways. Ooh, we got CEH and McKinnon in the backfield. CEH playing fullback. Oh my God! What in the world? All right, we're letting Kadarius Toney throw down the field to McKinnon. We're doing fake field goals that turn into sneak.
And into double coverage. Why?
Andy's just calling wacky shit tonight, and I'm not sure I like it.
If he was up by 2 touchdowns, I'd be all for it, because why not? But he's literally up by not 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns actually 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points puts Denver in the lead. Not that they're likely to get that right now, because they haven't looked great either, but this is...
Oh, there's my Rashee Rice. There's my Rashee Rice. Got it, baby.
Little early.
Told you we get it. The Khalil Shakir line is hit.
Oh, my God. And he almost fumbled it. But, yes, you hit it. All right, where are we at on the slip? We should give folks a slip update. We have not mentioned Underdog in far too long. Again, our extremely generous sponsors who are being extremely generous with you and upped the amount that they will double with deposit from 100 to 500 recently. So if you are a new depositor with Underdog, you're not getting $100 doubled. You're getting up to $500 doubled. If you want to lay money on these games, feel free to do so. Underdog has been very generous with us, and now they're being very generous with you, and we support that.
We're at 2 out of 5 so far, about to be 3 out of 5, because we got Rice, that hit. We got Kelce, that hit. Both of our yak lines hit. We need Mahomes to get one more passing first down. He probably will.
Probably going to happen.
And then we need Mims to get 20 yards, and we need Wilson to throw, 22 more passes between now and the end of the game?
Oh, I don't know about the 22 more passes. I think we're going to have to lean on Mims and insurance, but it could just be me.
But hey, because it is insured, we only need 4. And we still get the payout. We still profit on the night, so we're all right.
That's right. Andrew Stanley with a super chat for $5 made the mistake of getting Bullet Rye. I'm sorry. Rather than the standard not too long ago. Sorry, my chat just went insane. Got to go back.
He said, "Is it all Ryes that wouldn't work for me, or just that one?" Don't do Bullet. Don't do Bullet. I would say if you want a Rye, the Angels Envy Rye again, fantastic. It's a Caribbean cask finish, so they rest it in rum barrels, and it's phenomenal.
Well, that's different, but I'm gonna make a different pitch for you, Andrew. And I'm not wild about Bullet, just the standard Bullet, and I really don't like the Bullet Rye. I don't like the way they do it. Rye is it's just a very different construction. If you have Amazon Prime, and I imagine you do because you're watching this game, check out a documentary called Empire Rye. And basically a bunch of New York distillers, several of them, very close to where I grew up, decided several years ago to make a new standard, much like the bourbon standard in Kentucky, which strangely enough was present in New York before Prohibition, but the distilling, trade in New York really got crushed by Prohibition. Anyways, these young and new and very diverse brewers in upstate New York decided we're going to make a standard called Empire Rye, and it's going to require, terroir, basically, which is the wine term for we're going to need a lot of the grain to be sourced locally. We're going to have restrictions about how it's made and how it's aged. And if you meet those standards, you can stamp your stuff as an Empire rye. So find yourself an Empire rye. There are a lot of variations. Hudson, who I just mentioned, they're bourbon. They are part of the original group that created Empire Rye. There are some really fantastic ryes out there, not just ones that are aged in sweet barrels, which I tend to love, but some straight up ryes. They're very difficult to make. It takes more time. You get less yield from the grain than you do from many other types of alcohol. And technically, they're very difficult to make. That's why rye died out. Like in the 1980s, you couldn't find rye. Like rye didn't exist. Nobody made rye. Some of the major distilleries in Kentucky and Tennessee made rye. Literally, they like turned, because you have to turn your distilling equipment to be set for rye distilling. They would do 1 day a year. They would make rye 1 day out of the year. And that's all the rye they sold in like the mid 80s. Like rye was, for all intents and purposes, dead.
That was the vodka decade. Everybody just wanted vodka.
Yeah, clear liquors, most brown liquors went down, but nobody made any rye. Like people were selling off barrels of made rye that had been aging for ridiculously low sums. Like you could buy an entire barrel for like pennies on the dollar because nobody wanted it.
And now
times have changed.
Now it's all over the place. I will say, so one of my favorites is this one from Woodinville up by EJ, about 40 minutes northeast of Seattle. It is a spicy rye, and that's the thing. Ryes tend to be a little bit on the spicy side because of the grain that they make it with. But far more balanced than Bullet, way higher quality than Bullet, tastier than Bullet. And if you want something a little bit on the sweeter side, Sagamore is a blended rye. They blend it over in Baltimore.
I was going to say, that's Maryland, right?
Yeah. It's Maryland. They take multiple ryes. One's like a 95%, and then one's a high corn rye. So there's a lot more sweetness in it. This is more approachable than the Woodinville. So if I was going to start anywhere, I would say start with the Sagamore, and then do the Woodinville, and then eventually progress up to the Angel's Envy, because I know you're going to like the Angel's Envy one better anyway, so you might as well do these first, and then land on the Angel's Envy.
If you're only going to buy one bottle, that's the Angel's Envy. And look, it's costly, but it's also very, very good. The Sagamore is the stuff we had during our summer preview series episode for the Ravens. Really, really good stuff. So lots of approachable ryes out there. I would say I feel fairly confident you might like ryes because Bullet, in my opinion, ain't it.
It's like the Jim Beam of ryes. Like
kind of, yeah.
Don't bother.
And you could do a lot of other things. So rye may well be for you. You just haven't found the one you like yet.
All right. Hoping to eventually see some competent offense in this game.
Be nice.
I think the net passing yards for Denver is still less than 15 if we count sacks.
Oh man,
they have 37 raw passing yards in the third.
We're
quarter.
gonna have to. We're gonna have to hope for that one great shining shot to Marvin Mims, aren't we?
Let me see what. I'm curious. What's Russ's live yardage at right now on Underdog?
It's not pretty. All right, Shawshank Inception.
I'm at 214. No way.
Yeah.
No way. That's. I'm wondering if he's gonna get to 100 at this point. Like,
I was gonna say 214 seems a little rich to me, based on the montage they just put together of Kansas snuffing out their drives. Shawshank Inception, one of my favorite usernames on the platform. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for the super chat. By the way, if the Vikings go 1-5, it's not over by a long shot. The 2015 Chiefs started. Whoa. This is a Vikings apologist tweet. This is rough. 2015 Chiefs started 1-5 and won 10 straight and made the playoffs. It's not impossible. You are correct.
Technically not impossible.
You are correct.
Just highly unlikely.
Yeah. We're going to talk about possibility, and then we're going to switch to the other P word, probability. And the probability is not freaking likely. So you're right. If you want to hang on those assets and say it ain't over till it's over, you would be technically correct. It's not. if you were forward thinking and trying to hit the reset button 6 months earlier, which you're probably going to have to do no matter what, look, the Vikings, aren't winning the Super Bowl this year. If they do, I would be highly surprised. They are probably not making a deep run in the playoffs this year. They could get hot. You're right. It is possible. It is not likely based on what we've seen so far. So at that point, in a reality-based sort of approach, Quessie's got to go, what do I have? What am I going to get? How long can I leverage these things? Can I get anything at the turn? Like, it's not baseball. You don't see all this activity at the trade deadline. You've seen more from football, but it's not the same as baseball. Baseball, and my podcast partner JB made this comment last night on Bears Over Beers, and I thought it was pretty prescient. What baseball teams do at the trade deadline really announces their intention. Like, if your team sells everybody off, they're just not trying. Everybody goes, nah, they're reset. If they're all in, if they buy a bunch of pitchers and sell off a bunch of minor leaguers, they're going for it. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're all in. And it's a very definitive declaration if your team makes moves in either direction. If they stay in pat, maybe less so. Not so much for NFL teams, but Questie's really got to look at that and go, hey, what can I get at this moment, given that I am not likely to progress deep into the playoffs this year and certainly not likely to win the Super Bowl this year? Can I recoup some assets that are going to help me do that sooner? Can I start that process more quickly? And that's probably the more realistic approach. We'll see what happens. We're not saying that's the right approach or the only approach. You're correct. They could tear off a bunch of games. Are they the Chiefs? I think that's a rich comparison. I don't think they are.
Andrew for $5 says, Bullet is just a cheaper bourbon. I don't have y'all's kind of money. I've been living vicariously through Brett's B-roll footage for a long time. I will say that, Andrew, if you're looking for a better quality spirit than Bullet that is the exact same price in most liquor stores, go with Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse Rye is 100 proof, so it's better in cocktails because it stands up to stuff better because it's 100 proof. It tastes better. It won't give you that that type of hangover that you can only get from just like cheap, not well-made booze. And again, it's the same price. So go with Rittenhouse Rye next time. You don't have to break the bank for it. It's a lot of cocktail bars go to like well rye, so when they're making Manhattans and stuff like that, because A, it's not super expensive, and B, it's good. So again, Rittenhouse, that's what you want. Oh, all right, another pick.
Oh man, I was just gonna say Broncos with a little bit of threat here, but you're ahead of me, so boo. Oh, tipped. That's.
Yeah, I don't know if Russ is getting to 100 yards tonight.
No, that is so Broncos fortune. Welfare check on Perna. I feel like pulling up the megaphone. Welfare check on Perna. Aisle 6. Welfare check on Brandon Perna. Yeah, he's got to be hating life. That's just look, it's a football play. It happens. The ball's not round, but oh man, Broncos seemingly fated to be on the wrong end of those. AJ Dombrowski for $5 in the super chat. My wife promised me a high-end bottle for Christmas. I prefer Canadian and Irish whiskeys. Recommendations for me to hint at. Okay, first thing, and please don't put it in a super chat. Just let us know, AJ, what's high end. Is that $50? Is that $75? Is that $100 or more? Like, is this all stops are out, or is this just like twice what you usually spend, which is still a high-end bottle? Like, if you're spending $55-$60 on a bottle of booze, to me, that's a very good bottle of booze.
That's a good bottle,
yeah. Just trying to get you in the right neighborhood. Don't want to be like, well, this is the one I like, and it's $120, and you're like, oh, half that. So give us a range. You don't need to super chat it. We'll check it out in the comments. Lots of recommendations for both Canadian and Irish. I'm with you. Those are two of my favorites. Irish over Canadian, but there are a lot of good Canadian whiskeys. And I don't say this as a backhanded compliment. Don't mean that at all. Canadian whiskey is really good coffee whiskey.
Oh yeah.
Like if you
and
like
pancake whiskey.
If you like a little bit of whiskey in your coffee in the morning, like Canadian whiskey is tough to beat. Like there are so many really affordable good blends that go well in a cup of coffee. Like love it for that.
I did pancakes last night, and I put some Canadian whiskey into the batter, and it was phenomenal.
Yep. I tend to do. We've done certainly like bourbon pancakes, bourbon waffles. Don't tend to do Irish as much in those, but Canadians are great for that. Yeah, bourbon waffles, especially like bourbon vanilla waffles.
Oh, it's so good.
Good stuff.
It's so good.
Good stuff.
Icelandic,
and yes, breakfast for dinner.
Icelandic for $5 says, "What's y'all's favorite hot mic moment from games? I.e., Matt Ryan saying "get fucking set" to Sanu, or Manning cussing out Donald Brown for missing a block." I would say Blaine Gabbert saying "whoa there, motherfucker" to Brian Cushing will always be my top. 100%.
Oh man. I'm gonna go back. It's not necessarily a hot mic moment. It's a wired up moment, and one of the most famous of all time. But Lawrence Taylor smashing one particular Jets quarterback.
Yeah,
y'all gonna have to do better than that, son. Like, come on, just try harder. Like, that is not enough challenge for me.
It's not enough for him to hit you, but to also be disappointed in you, like, it's just.
It's like, oh, son, you're all gonna have to do better than that. He sunned him too.
I know.
Just so rough. Thoughts on Andy's play calling this year from Jake Mackey for pound point 99. I don't think it's all that different. They are adaptable. A lot of people don't give them credit for that, but we were just talking about the lack of Tyreek. I still don't think, well, how much of it is Nagy's play calling and how much of it is Andy's, and the lack of a truly defined receiving threat in any role. I'm not talking about a deep threat. I'm talking about, I don't feel like they've really figured out what all of their wide receivers do well yet, and they're not leaning into that, or maybe they just don't have those strengths. I sort of fail to believe that, because I feel like all professional receivers have strengths, and it just doesn't feel like they've made that connection. It's a tough connection. People talk about chemistry. People talk about the offense gelling. It doesn't feel like, other than Kelce, that Mahomes can lean on certain guys in this offense in certain high leverage spots and just make it happen, as evidenced by the fact that he just had to run for a first down.
But it's the fact that it's 3rd and 11 and you know he's going to run for it, and he still does it almost uncontested. Like, that's what.
Yeah, he's going to get it. He's going to get it by a yard every time, every single time.
Every freaking time. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a 4-wide look basically, and he has a guy open in the middle of the field. I mean, certainly open for Mahomes, and he chooses to run it anyways. Like, again, that just shows me that he's not like, oh, that guy's open and I'm throwing it his way, which he's had those guys in the past. So how much of that is play calling and how much of that is just the offense kind of not hitting its stride in a way that we are very used to? And look, the Chiefs fans bemoaning the fact that they don't have the right flavor of receiver and really wringing their hands over that as their primary offensive worry. It just makes me laugh. Like, I just have a good hearty belly laugh about that at least once a week.
Like,
I'm like, as if
we're only the best team in the league by a little bit this year.
I know. I like, to have that be my largest worry. Yes, please. Anyways, appreciate the super chat, Jake. Thank you for that.
I will say, on that 3rd and 11 scramble, that was a good example of why Mahomes on 3rd down is, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because you saw the linebacker sitting in the middle of the field, because he knew that as soon as he took off to suck up to Pat was just going to throw it behind him, because there was a guy 100%. Sitting there saying, go ahead, run after him, right? And so it's like, either we give up the scramble or he just throws cross body 30 yards the other way. And it's like, what do you do,
Yeah.
Play man, I guess.
Completely agree with you. And when we flip the script to the other side, more baloney from Kansas City on play calling on 3rd and 1. Not great. When we flipped the script and we were talking about Russell Wilson on the other side, and he had a similar play. He was rolling out to the right, didn't really have answers, and he can't improvise and run in the same way that Mahomes has. So, you're not damned. Like, play coverage and you're going to win. and they did against Russ. You can play coverage against Mahomes, and you're still not going to win. So that's what the best offenses do, is they have an answer no matter what you do. Hey, if you come forward, I'm going to do this. If you go backwards, I'm going to do this. And that's the whole point of offense, is to put defenders into that kind of conflict. The best offenses do it regularly and or all the time. The worst offenses do it not often enough. So there's that. Shawshank Inception for $9.99. I'm a Texans fan, but I'll proudly accept the Vikings apologist label. I just don't like the idea of trading Kirk and blowing it up. You and a lot of Vikings fans, they are very change averse. Let's put it that way. You are not in a minority there, I don't think. You're probably in the majority. Also, do you guys think the 49ers have a real shot at 17-0 this year? Yeah, I do. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't think it's terribly likely. But the question was, do you think they have a shot? They absolutely have a shot. They have been playing well for an entire year. Sans injury. And if any team in the NFL has a shot at it, they do.
Jack says, just want Justin Ross to be Justin Ross again. Don't we all, man? Like, we've been waiting for that for how many years now? Of like, we're all just holding on to these visions of like 17-year-old Justin Ross and be like, I know it's in there. I know you can be that. Come on, man.
One of the most ridiculous receivers in his early years at Clemson that I've ever seen. Like
he was nuts, man.
I posted one that was actually quote unquote a drop. It's not really a drop. It's thrown wildly behind him. He had no business even touching it, and he almost one-hands it to the ground in honestly, one of the most athletic catch attempts I've ever seen. Didn't count on the stat sheet, but like ridiculous. Came really close to catching that ball, and it was there. He didn't even have any business touching it. Yeah, wildly talented guy. Different after injuries. Again, showed out in the preseason. People got really excited. I sort of tempered my enthusiasm, but I'm right there with you. I want to see that again because, geez, it was fun. Like that was just popcorn stuff. It was great.
Alex for $10 says there always seems to be at least one major trade at the deadline. What would you predict to be that major trade this year? Realistically, Danielle Hunter.
Yeah.
Slightly less realistically, but still possible, Patrick Surtain. And then the spiciest one that is technically possible but is unlikely is Kirk Cousins. But it really just depends on what happens with the Vikings in their next game. And then if Dallas gets embarrassed, they might not trading away, but trading for somebody. Like maybe they could be a destination for Patrick Surtain. Or Hollywood Brown, even if they're not satisfied with Brandon Cooks, which I don't think Brandon Cooks is the problem. But again, we've never known Jerry to be patient. But I could see one of those happening.
Oh no,
Leo Chanel sighting though. It's nice.
Oh, so sad. Wow. I mean, not for Chanel.
Yeah.
This is not an anti-Leo tweet. Like, shoo, man.
More so, you're just lamenting Broncos offense in general.
I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, they just put up Russell Wilson's stat line, which was honestly depressing. The Chiefs have not played a great game in this one, and they're up by 16 and shutting them out. Like, it does feel way, way, way out of balance. Oh,
it was a nice run from Russ, though.
It's a nice run from Russ, but did you see the move from Karlaftis?
No.
Okay, go back on the All-22 and watch what he did to his blocker. That's not legal in like 30 states.
Oh, God, you're making me cough.
Oh, yeah, he just freaking chucked him. That was just a pure up, like, Karlaftis Hulk rush. Really, yeah, right. Very Wisconsin-esque.
Well, they can't throw, so they're just making Russ run every down now. We got a flag. Maybe got a hold here.
It's sad. Alex Tracy for $2. What is your rough day drink? I don't know. I'm of two minds about that. You probably have a very fancy rough day drink that will make you feel good because you enjoy taking the time
Well,
to make a constructed cocktail. And for me, I'm like, I just kind of want to get it in the glass and start into it. And it's the same thing, strangely, as my good day drink. Like it's Black Barrel over ice. Like if there's a day that you know bad things
I
happen,
was
and
gonna.
I'm like,
What kind of rough day? That's my stipulation. Is it like, oh, I had a
yeah,
stressful
for
day at
sure.
work, or it's like, oh, literally nothing went
Yeah.
right. You know.
Yeah, I don't drink on those days. I tend to stay away from alcohol on those particular days, but I'm thinking like something bad happened in your life. You got some bad news, something out of your control, and you're just like, nah, I'm just gonna sit on the front porch and reset. I'm gonna, and for me, it's 3-4 cubes in a glass and cover them up with Black Barrel and go sit on the porch and think about, try and think about all the things that are going really well because there usually are those things. But no, I think, look, part of bootleg is always us talking about what we're drinking and certainly background and everything else. We don't tend to drink a lot when we're not doing this. A lot of
Yeah.
people think we do. A lot of people think we get up and like just pour one and
If we're recording at 10 in the morning, yes, but
sometimes
on like a
sometimes.
normal Wednesday, no, like
Yeah,
like,
not typically, and very rarely going over the line because we just don't always have bets with patrons. Jesus,
I was gonna say last TNF was the first time in a long time that I got drunk.
yeah,
Like it's been a while, honestly.
Yeah, you were hammed, and Jay sent me the supercut. By the way, I did not post it, but we have a short
Oh no,
of all your
I
shit.
didn't
We have
even
a
look
short.
at it.
we have a short of all your Malort shots, and they do get progressively worse, like the last one. And he capped it off with a key image. Shout out to Jay, one of our editors. It's the one where you took it, and you're like, nothing. Didn't even feel it. I'm like, oh yeah, he's over the line. But we don't tend to drink a lot. We're not doing this. Like we save this opportunity to enjoy a drink and watch some football with all of you. But I don't tend to drink when things aren't going well. I tend to stay away from alcohol and those. I tend to like celebrating. Like you know me. I'll call you when something goes great and say, hey, this is a moment to sit down and celebrate that we've been working on this for months and months and it came through. Like this is a good thing.
I'll pour myself a little something neat when I'm watching film. I've been on a cognac kick lately.
Oh,
I've been working my way through a couple different cognac bottles. Trying to think of like what. That's the thing is like when I'm at home, I like making cocktails, but there's also just a profound sense of laziness, where sometimes it's like I just want the booze. I don't feel like doing the whole like pulling out my shit to mix.
I'm with you. I'm not smoking any bourbon with mint when I just want to drink.
It's like I'll do it, but it's like, man, do I want to take 10 minutes to make myself a drink right now, or do I just want to drink?
Yeah.
Oh, Russ. Russ does look quicker. He does look more athletic this year, which I think has significantly contributed to the Broncos offense. Sans tonight
this is so
looking
sad, though.
decent. Tonight they can't do shit, but like Russ legitimately can move this year. So
yeah, they can't separate versus a very good defense, and a lot of credit does go to the Chiefs secondary. We've spent a lot of time talking about how good they are, even though that they're young. How much they've developed over the last year, and they're not getting a separation. Like Russ is looking at the picture down the field, it is muddy or covered, and he's tucking it almost immediately and running. It's not because he's not seeing the field; it's because he is seeing the field, and those guys are largely covered. He's not passing up gimme throws.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs defense is doing a good job. Spagnuolo is putting him in the blender. Like he doesn't have a lot of options, so they can, they can run for short yardage, or they can run Russ, or he can throw into contested situations. And that's what they got, folks. Like, it's not dial up the one where the guy's wide open. That ain't happening tonight. So.
Zoe Montgomery says, hey, guys, if the Vikings were blown up, what would it take for the Falcons to trade for Danielle Hunter? Probably a 2, I would say.
At least. Yeah, I would say at least.
Well, they're not going to get a 1.
No, but I don't think you're getting Danielle Hunter for a 3. I
No,
don't.
because the Vikings would just come back with, well, we're going to get a 3 as a comp pick for him anyway, so make it worth our while, right? So they would up it to a 2. Who's down?
And then when no, it's not down. It's that then it dial one up and Sutton basically drops it. Oh, who's down for the Chiefs? Safety, right? 20.
Yeah,
Is that Reed?
I hope it's not Reed.
Bad. No, hang on. Sorry, I lost my cursor. Where is it? There you go. Chiefs 20. It is Reed. Justin Reed.
That's not good.
He got up. He didn't stay down. So.
AJ says his upper limit for a nice bottle is $100.
Oh, nice. Good. We could certainly work with that.
Probably the Listau, right?
Yeah, the Redbreast. So Redbreast Listau is an Irish. Redbreast makes a 12-year, which comes in it depends on what the taxes are in your state. Taxes are pretty high here in Washington. That's about a $62, $65 bottle where I am. Brett's taxes are fairly high too in a state like Missouri. It's a little bit less. You can get it in the 50s. That's a very good bottle, the 12-year, but the Listau is the next level up, and that one comes in.
It's at 69 for me.
Locally. Yeah, like 69, 75 for me, I think. So it's the next step up from the 12-year. And Listau is legitimately one of my favorite Irishes of any price. Really like that bottle. The 12-year is very good. If you want to go up to Listau, I would. If you can, I certainly would. Yeah, $100 Irish. I'm trying to think about Canadians. I'm probably not going over mid 50s because you just don't need to. There's a lot of good.
There's some interesting Crown, which I know Crown has a reputation, but like there's some like limited edition Crowns that are legitimately really good that are in that range.
If you're into construction, if you work in the construction world, Crown is currency. Like if somebody does you solid on a job site, like you pay them in Crown. You know, you have some like crane operator that like lifts a whole bunch of stuff so you don't have to move it for the day. Like you pay him in a bottle of Crown. That's always the way it's been. And it's funny, you get those guys like they want basic Crown. They don't want like
he's an electrician. There you go.
They're like they don't want fancy Crown. Like I bought fancy Crown for somebody and they were legitimately offended. They had some very choice words for me because words are not filtered typically on the construction site. And he basically said to me, what's the filtered version of this? Like, what do you think I am? Some kind of softy. And I was like, I thought it was nicer. Like I paid more for it. And he was like, he commented on my intelligence. And I knew from then on that when somebody says Crown, they mean base freaking Crown, buddy. Anyways, lessons learned.
I happen to like Crown.
Like, didn't do that again.
A lot of people say they don't like Crown. I happen to like Crown. I think it's good.
I mean, you know, honestly, there are a lot worse things to drink in the price range. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. What was the Pendleton? Pendleton's also another nice Canadian that you and I both like.
I love Pendleton, and Pendleton Midnight is slightly more expensive. I don't think it's better, but it's only slightly more expensive. So if you want to try that, that's fine. But that's at like a third of your range. You're talking like a $35 for Midnight, maybe, and like 25 for straight Pendleton, which I think is great. I love keeping a bottle of it in the house. I don't have any right now, but absolutely have had, you know, many cups of morning coffee out on the porch with a little Pendleton in them. Pendleton over rocks is a favorite. It's just a very easy daily drinker if that's your thing. If you have, you know, a glass every night, like Pendleton certainly fits in that category. Great stuff. I like it.
There's in chat from James. The drywall world is exactly this. My friend has a large
100%.
moving box from U-Haul filled with the Crown sacks.
No, 100%. If you ever go golfing with anybody in the trades, electrician, drywall hanger, you know, structural steel guys, concrete guys, whatever. If you ever go golfing with them, their like bag that they have all their like tees and ball marker fixtures and
Their club heads is just crown bags.
Always crown. Like the pencils for the scorecard, it's always crown bags. You can always tell it's like that guy. He's an equipment operator. He's a Sparky. He's a structural steel guy.
Wait a minute.
Whatever.
That means we have an electrician and a drywall guy in the same chat. Aren't they like mortal enemies? I thought they hate each other.
There's a lot of healthy competition between the trades. Very, very rarely do they hate each other. Sometimes they do, but they all drink Crown. Like it is universal. Like you can pay for almost anything on a job site with Crown.
Wait, AJ, since you're here, what's your opinion on California patches? I gotta know. Have you ever seen a California patch done, EJ? California patch, which is basically like it's like a quicker way to do a patch where you're not really like drilling it in. You're basically just sticking it to the wall and then just plastering it on and be like, good enough.
Doesn't sound great.
As long as you're doing it on like a a wall that you don't care about that much, you're good.
Well, sure.
But you're not drilling in the base. You're literally like using that. I don't know what like that mesh sticky tape is called, but you're literally just using that to just hold everything together.
Tape and mud. Yep. Yep. Been there, done that. All right. We have devolved into construction talk because the game is not great.
I mean, it's TNF tradition, man. I'm trying to remember.
However, they are, I hate to bring this up, but they are covering.
Yeah, you're right. It was a 10.5. Wait.
It's 10.5 before the game.
Wasn't it 16 nothing right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying the Chiefs are covering. I thought you meant Broncos were covering.
No, Chiefs are covering.
Yeah.
I had many people reach out to me and like, are the Chiefs going to beat them by that much? And I was like, probably so. Like, that's not typically a line I feel comfortable with. Touchdown on a field goal plus. But in this case, I'll make an exception.
Checking in on the underdog slip, by the way. So we're still waiting on that last passing first down from Pat.
We are stuck at 3.
And then Russ needs...
we're stuck at 2? We haven't even gotten the first down?
We're still waiting for that last passing first down from Pat. And so, let's see. Russ is at 17. He needs 33. So I need 16 more pass attempts from Russ and then 20 yards from Mims. I don't know about this, folks. I don't know about this.
Oh, AJ, you're killing me. My job is installing tiny fire hazards at perfect height for toddlers. I can't imagine half-assing it. Oh, that is so good. I do miss working in the trades. The humor is unmatched. Like there is no question. Unmatched.
Oh, Twin! I forgot about it. So Twin said yearly reminder: Ron Zacapa 23, Exo Dark from Guatemala.
Yeah,
right. I still got to get me a bottle of that. You're correct.
Yes, you do.
Thank you for the reminder.
That is 100% true. Yeah. Did you guys see what Steve Smith said about Jerry Jeudy? We did. Brett addressed it as we started. He was most interested in the sort of doesn't take coaching comment and where that came from and why Steve would share it, whether it was personal or something he heard. Yeah, it is an interesting question. As always, I don't want to say consider the source. It's more like find the source and figure out where that's coming from.
I mean, as fellow underdog partners with Steve, I'm sure we could put in a call to find out exactly what's going on.
If not, we can wait and maybe ask him at the Super Bowl because I imagine he will be there again, and we probably will too this year. Nice little run from Pacheco. Catch and run.
Oh, not probably. We will be there. The only question is, what part of Vegas will we be in? That part I don't have an answer for yet.
Yeah,
we'll be in the general Vegas vicinity.
Ooh, there's a great question. Who is the bootleg of college football from T-Ball 285 for $2? Thank you very much. I like to think what we do is pretty varied and tough to duplicate, but that would be wildly
I would say
egocentric.
Joel Klatt. Really like Joel Klatt show for college. He's
Klatt's,
probably my favorite college show.
Platt's great. I took a lot of this isn't sort of exactly the same thing, but Pat 40 years ago, I liked a lot of what Pat did and the way that he did it. And a lot of those threads run through the content that you all see that we make with Bootleg. And there's honestly a lot of writers, creators, video folks. Certainly.
God.
Bonk, bonk,
See,
bonk.
what I'm talking about with the trust issues. Oh, and Watson's down too.
Hey!
Did he? Wait. What did he hurt?
It didn't look like anything going down, but something for sure. He's tapping.
Did he break a finger?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's something.
I think that ball broke a finger. I think his ring finger got fucked. I think that's what that was.
He came right. No, his wrist. Left wrist.
Wrist? Is that what it was?
Yeah, left wrist. He grabbed immediately for his left wrist. He came down on it.
What a weird, freaky injury.
I wonder what happened to him because it didn't look like he hit the ground all that awkwardly.
Yeah.
The helmet of the defender definitely hit it on the way through, but he was already grabbing for it before it hit the helmet.
That's really odd.
Yeah, it didn't look terrible. That doesn't mean that it's not a bad injury.
More so, it's not a normal mechanism for.
It was not a obvious. Oh my God, that looks terrible. It was like, oh, that looks like it really hurts for sure. We'll figure out what happened. I hope he's not hurt. Man, I wish he caught that ball. Maybe because it would have protected his wrist too. Like if he'd come down clutching that ball to his chest, I very much doubt he would have hurt his wrist.
Yeah, he only would have knocked the wind out of himself slightly.
Yes,
better.
he would have done that for sure. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Pat hit him right in the hands. We talked about Lamar in our preview episode this week, hitting all the Ravens receivers in the hands and not having it pay off. Haven't seen that much occur for the Chiefs tonight, but that's certainly a case where, again, you set up the shot perfectly. The receiver runs the right route. Quarterback hits him in stride. Like everything is great until the catch point. And yes, he was covered. You got to make those catches in the NFL. He hit him right in the hands. Like that is a catchable ball. Difficult.
Ice Pyro for $5. My uncle is the brewmaster of Free State Brewery in Lawrence, Kansas, and Copperhead Pale Ale is named after the time he was bit by a copperhead snake.
Ooh, bugger. We're going to have to ask Kent.
Yeah, he's out there, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Kent lives in Lawrence. So Kent Swanson, host KCSN, one of the KCSN guys we've been talking about. Pretty sure he lives in Lawrence. We'll have to ask him about that particular brew. I was reminded that copperheads exist when I visited Texas. Frank's like, oh, we haven't seen more than like
too.
2 or 3 out here in the last year. I was like, that's plenty for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't need more than 2 or 3. 2 or 3 is good. Like that's fine.
Shawshank Inception again for $10. I'm a Texans fan, but I'll proudly accept the Vikings apologist label. I just don't like the idea of trading Kirk and blowing it up. Also, do you think the 49ers have a real shot at 17-0? They have a shot at 17-0, but they have to go through Seattle twice, and they got to go through the Eagles all back to back to back in December. If they get to 17-0 with that December slate, they will have earned it. And that's right after they play against Cincy, too. Like, they will have earned 17-0, and it would be one of the greatest achievements in football history because it's hard enough to go 16-0 like the Patriots did, let alone 17-0. Oh, there goes McKinnon. Oh, he gone.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Jet.
Did you see Patrick Surtain run his ass down?
I'm watching it. Whoo!
Holy shit.
He came smoking in. McKinnon is not as fast as he used to be, but he ain't slow either.
Surtain, my God.
Great effort. Like you gotta appreciate a guy playing that hard on a unit that's not great. Like he knows that the Broncos defense is not good. He also knows that every bit of tape he puts up, everybody gets to see. That is a high effort play. That is the reason that he was one of the reasons he was CB1 for me the year he came out. Love Pat Surtain Jr. Like he's great. Well, block at the back from the Chiefs.
So they're calling that back.
Oh, they got a personal foul too. Looks like they had 2 fouls on play. Sorry, I don't have the audio for Amazon on.
Well, that sucks. That was a fun play.
It was a fun play on multiple levels, and we are hungry for fun in this game. We will take fun in this game. The NFL has proved to be the not as fun league on Thursday nights, but did he step out?
Yeah, he did. Barely, but he did.
Yeah, right there for sure. Great shot. Credit the broadcast crew. That is a great shot. He steps out there for sure. Next shot is next foot as well, I think. So,
but yeah, back to your question, Shawshank. It would be one of the greatest achievements in football history for them to go undefeated against this slate. It's really, really hard to go 16, let alone 17, and then to have the playoff games on top of that. It would be
3rd and 17. What do you got in your playbook, Coleman?
A Patrick Mahomes run for 19 yards.
Okay.
Or a screen. Fuck it. Why not?
Fair.
There you go.
Fair. Oh, man. Oh, and an immediate screen that he dumped at his feet, and he almost got it.
That's the thing. Man. It's like that almost worked.
That almost worked. I would have got away with it if it weren't for these meddling kids. It's the Scooby-Doo play.
In regards to the hot mics, Shawshank said, the Aaron Rodgers oh fuck on Thanksgiving after a bad snap is classic. I forgot about that one. That one's good.
There are a lot of them for sure. And, a lot of fun stuff gets said during games. A lot of lip reading occurs. Sometimes good. If you're not familiar with bad lip reading, go check them out. Those videos are hilarious.
I have listened to a lot of, when I was at NFL Network, of course, they have all the sound, right?
Oh, yeah. All the dish.
All the stuff that doesn't get released. And I've listened to a lot of it. And boy, these guys have some potty mouths, folks. There's some
yes.
There's some reprehensible shit that gets said out there, okay? Like, it's not a nice environment. They say some heinous things out there. And that was especially like 10, 15 years ago, back like before we're in our current era. Yeah, man, some of that shit's never going to see the light of day. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Of course, all the guys that we were talking to that work in construction, well, guys and gals that work in the construction trades are like, dude, you have no idea.
All right, well, there's a nice little ball to Cortland. Russ is cooking.
But it's not Mims.
It's not Mims.
Like, I'm just saying he should target Mims because Mims is the most explosive rookie in the league. Just saying. No other reason.
Yeah, no ulterior motive at all.
Nope. Not one.
I am happy that between Jonathan Taylor or King Henry this week.
I am happy that Sutton caught that one, though, because he has had drops and fumbles this season that have been impactful, like a lot of them, and it's not been great. So happy to see him make a clean connection there.
Seagroot says, can't decide between Jonathan Taylor or King Henry this week. I would go with Jonathan Taylor personally. And then any Japanese... Oh, wait, no, Jonathan Taylor against the Jags.
No.
Fuck, both...
No.
Yeah, but Henry against Baltimore, I don't like either one. Is there any other option? Like any at all other option?
It ain't great. If you got to choose between those two, probably taking Henry just on strength alone, like his strength.
If I had to choose between the two, I'd take Taylor, but I wouldn't enjoy it.
Okay. I got it. I got to give Russ props for that.
For getting absolutely blasted out of bounds?
No, Chris Jones has him one-on-one dead to rights. Watch this.
Oh, the little shake he did. Yeah. Like I said, the losing weight helped him.
This is not an easy play to make against Chris Jones, and he flat out stoned. Like, Chris was like, come on, help me out here. Like, no, he He absolutely took him. Yeah, Reed, good shot. Again, if you're the current version of Russell Wilson, you're not getting that call. If you're the current version of Patrick Mahomes and you take that shot, it's flag.
McGlinchey just got bitched again.
I say that's a recurring theme this year. Daniel Trump for $10. Is there any team in the same tier with Kansas City, San Francisco, and Philly, or are they the top three?
I would say Detroit's up there. Well, when healthy, Detroit's up there. Detroit is not healthy right now. If Baltimore could catch the fucking ball, they'd be up there.
Yeah, if Buffalo would play with a consistent run-pass balance.
Without Daquan Milano, I don't know, man.
Right, without their entire defense being raised by a firebombing dragon, which seems to be the case. For them
Miami.
right now.
I'd say Miami.
Miami for sure. They've, a little bit of falling off. I'm not so worried about the Achane injury. They were clicking before he caught fire. They were doing just fine with Mostert, and that receiving core is always dangerous. Again, as long as they can keep Tua on the field, which was a stipulation we put up this summer and said if that happens, they're going to be very dangerous. I think Miami certainly fits in there. Is there anybody else that I feel is in that I'm having trouble betting against them tier?
Oh, Jeudy.
Jeudy's definitely not in that tier.
Come back to the ball, Jerry.
Well, come on. It is against McDuffie. You love McDuffie. If that's a matchup, I'm leaning on McDuffie for sure. McDuffie versus Jeudy, I'll take McDuffie with the way he's playing right now every time. 10 out of 10.
Still,
and I think he'll win
you gotta recognize it's being underthrown and come back to it.
I fully understand. You're talking to a guy that was not as high on Jeudy as everybody else. I think he is a good receiver. I do not think he is a great receiver because of some of the little things. He has some great skills. And, pretty good ball by Russ, considering he's getting slammed in the midsection as he lets it go.
He also asked for Japanese whiskey Rex.
Kaio for me.
Yeah, Kaio for sure. I mean, if money is no object, the Yamazakis are really nice.
Yeah, just know that.
Cortland? Did he get that?
Giving him his feet. He caught it. For sure, he caught it. He's like,
no way.
Man. I don't know if his feet were in, but
his knee was in. That counts. That's a touchdown, folks. That's a touchdown. Come on.
He's down. He secures it. Ball does not come loose.
That's a touchdown.
I think I'm with you. I think it's a touchdown. He secures that ball. He's got it tight against his body. It does not bounce. Knee was in. Knee is 2 feet.
They're challenging it.
Go.
Yeah, they're challenging
They
it.
should. Whoever they have as a replay official should be screaming right now. Throw the flag. Yeah. That's points on the board. That is. See, this is what happens, Brett. I'm out, and then they pull me back in.
Well, you're just a sucker for Cortland Sutton anyway. So.
I have been, but this year has been not good times for that. I fully admit he has been bad this year. He had the one game with 2 fumbles. He's had his share of ugly drops on, I would say, way easier throws than that, which is the frustrating part. And then he goes out and just absolutely, one-handedly jumps up and mosses a guy, when you least expect it. And you're like, see? But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to jump right back on the wagon quite yet. But that was a great play.
Zach Mitchell for $10. Rookie bourbon guy here. What is your recommendation on a good sipping bourbon? Just finished a bottle of Barrel Batch 34. Again, if we're not doing the Angels Envy, let's see, what's a good sipping bourbon? High West, I would say. High West is awesome.
Yeah.
What else do I have? The Woodinville port cask finish I really enjoy.
Yeah, honestly, any bourbon in a port cast finish or a sherry cast finish is like a cheat code. Like there are very
Yeah.
few bad ones.
EJ
You
loves
can get
those.
you can get. I mean, the rock pile guys too. We were talking about this with Drew and Chris, and like, when's the last like port or sherry cast finish bourbon of any stripe you got that you were like, that's bad?
Yeah, because it takes out every fuck up that you make in the bourbon making process. Those barrels will take it out. Like,
I fully agree.
It covers
So,
up everything.
if you're into sipping, you want to sit down and enjoy something, like get a port or sherry cast finish bourbon, and it is hard to go wrong.
If you have the money for it, Eagle Rare, honestly, in terms of just like straight, like
it's delicious,
like not cask, not finished in any other cask, like just bourbon. Eagle Rare is the one you want.
Touchdown. And he's like, I want fries with that, man. Come on. That's not.
Storm says Jerry does have patience when it comes to below average coaches.
I know. I agree. Alex Tracy for $5, maybe a 2000s kid, but I love my classic football knowledge. And John Randall is the best mic'd up opponent. He was an all-time talker. He'd be on the all-time trash talk team. He was great. Warren Sapp, certainly, probably one of the guys you were talking about, Brett, was extremely mouthy on the field, somewhat creative. There's God, look at this. The Chiefs have just screwed around all night, and now they're up by 8, one score game.
I know it. There's so many key third downs, and this ties into a super chat we got from Garrett, who said, have you noticed any differences in the Chiefs offense that could be attributed to Eric Bieniemy's absence through these first 5 weeks? Love you guys. You can tell the Matt Nagy influence in terms of key situational downs where they look a lot better on paper than they do on the field. And Eric Bieniemy, I know I did, but it's true. Like, a lot of these plays have Matt Nagy written all over them. Like, oh, let's have Kadarius Toney throw a pass. Like, oh, let's run a fucking zone read with Toney on third down. Not, we have the best quarterback in the world. Let's just call something and let Pat and Travis read it out and do their thing. It's like, no, let's get cute with people that are not Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That has Nagy written all over it. Bieniemy on key situational third downs would never have done that. Like, they got cute all the time, but never in those situations. They got cute when they were allowed to. That is the main difference. And now they're only up by 8.
I thought the bad man was dead.
No, he's never going to die.
Oh, my God. It's a fucking Halloween nightmare. It's like a slasher flick. He just keeps coming back. I thought I was safe. You're never safe. Don't go back in the cabin.
Like, Chiefs honestly should just not give the ball back the rest of the night. Like, if they can, this slow, methodical drive. Uh-oh, that hurt Travis. Uh-oh. Yeah, that retweaked the ankle. Fuck.
He has to get hurt every game. It's part of the script, right? Like, Taylor comes, he has to get up, she has to react. Oh no!
I think the Toradol finally wore off. That's what happened.
I hope for his sake he's not on a lot of that stuff. It's wonderful stuff when you really need it.
Yeah, those first 90 minutes are great. All right, Noah Gray, carry us home here.
It's like, yeah, it does. Like, Kelce also, less so with the ankle hurt, but a very capable blocker. Noah Gray, not as much. Oh. Cooper, like,
he wanted to.
Like, Pat was like, I just can't give you a little. Coop's like, I'll give you a little back. Like, let's not play that game. I don't think you want to go.
I swear Nagy wants to put anyone in a QB except Mahomes. Yeah. All right, we got McKinnon in the slot, Pacheco out wide on a 3rd and 2. All right. Oh, there goes Rashee Rice. I will say he does look a lot more explosive in the pros than in college.
100%.
And it's not even just about, oh, he was hurt in college. I know he was hurt in college. We've said this before. We watched
different play style.
We watched the games where he was healthy in college. He still never looked that explosive. Like, if there is one thing that holds consistently true, it's that there's so many guys that come out of programs like, say, SMU, where they finally get into the NFL with NFL nutrition and NFL training, and they literally unlock a brand new body. And they tap into a level of athleticism that maybe they never got at that type of program, compared to, say, the Alabamas or the Georgias, where a lot of them are basically maxed out by the time they're 20, because those programs are so good that they get every ounce out of those kids. Rashee Rice at SMU in a strength and conditioning program that is not anything close to NFL. He goes to the NFL, all of a sudden they can actually max him out to what he really is. And now we're seeing this kind of athlete that we never saw in college, even when he was healthy. So good on the Chiefs for A, recognizing that, and B, unlocking him, because he has never looked like this before, and he's looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, Pacheco has to come out there because his helmet broke. Like, the strap on his helmet actually broke. I thought it just came loose, but he actually had to head to the sideline, have the equipment guy take a look at it because the strap on the left side let go. Another Skyy Moore appearance. See, we had to talk about Skyy Moore, and now, like, down the stretch, Skyy Moore appearances.
He had turf toe in his last year in college. I know. I'm saying we went back and we watched the games where he didn't have turf toe, and he still didn't look like that.
Yeah, and you're talking about, strength and conditioning, and it's a super valid point. But there's also coaching to that. It's very possible that his coach in college, and again, I don't know who his coach in college was, so this is hypothetical. This is not an indictment of SMU's coaching staff, okay? It's possible that his coaches were quite satisfied with him catching the ball, like running the route, beating the defender, catching the ball, and that was that. And they were just like, cool. Whereas his coach in the pros is like, yeah, you need to do all that. No, turn right now. Turn. When you catch it, turn. Run. Like, every time. Turn and run. Turn and run. Always be looking for extra yards. It's kind of like defenders who make great plays in college, and those plays are maybe PBUs, and they're like, no, catch that thing. Like, we've got to turn those into turnovers, right? It's cool that you make the tackle, but be punching at the ball. We've got to, it's just the extra level. And it looks like somebody, whether it was his personal wide receivers coach, whether it's the Chiefs wide receivers coach, has gotten into him and been like, no, run, man.
Mm-hmm.
Run every time as hard as you can. Like, there are yards out there, and we want every one of them. It is not okay to just catch it and turn and hit contact, which is what a lot of his game at SMU was. And one of the reasons I was less excited about him up to the catch point, I liked him just fine. I thought he was going to be a very solid number 2 or number 3 possession receiver. He's big enough. He's strong enough. He's technically skilled enough to do that, but he didn't add anything.
People like him.
And gosh, I'm a middle manager. I drive a Dodge Stratus. Not that, but like, that's what he was in college, right? And he looks different in the pros. Oh, tap pass. Not going to go for very far, but nice try.
Yeah, no. And again, people always, not the people in this chat, other people were like, Brett's rooting against Rashee Rice. Brett doesn't want Rashee Rice to be good so he can be right. Not true. I want Rashee Rice to be good. I'm not actively rooting against any of these kids, like, becoming multimillionaires and lifting their families up to a totally new socioeconomic status. Like, I want these kids to be successful. Pat just took a huge sack. And if the cost of, again, Rashee Rice eventually becoming a multi-millionaire is me looking dumb for not liking him at SMU, that's a price I'm willing to pay.
For sure. And I think most people that follow Bootleg understand that, hey, if you're going to accuse us of being positive, we're cool with that. We want that. We want that for them. We want that for the game. We want that for ourselves, selfishly. Like, players playing up to their potential makes better football to watch, period. Like, if you want a very selfish reason for that, take. That's it.
Who is worse, Ekwonu or Neal? I mean, neither of them are playing particularly well this year. But in terms of who has shown the most flashes in the past, Icky has shown the most flashes.
Yeah,
Evan's still trying to get it together. And again, this is not the first time we've seen a young tackle in New York really, really struggle and then eventually turn it around and become good. Like Andrew Thomas was struggling just as much as Evan Neal was when he first came in. So it's not, I'm not completely writing off Evan Neal, but he certainly has got his shit kicked in his first couple of years. That's for sure.
Yeah, both players can play better. Both players, I think, have played better at points throughout their career. I would agree that Ekwonu has shown more earlier. Neal's had his moments, and again, you talked about unlocks. We were just talking about unlocks. We were talking about, skill position more, ball handling players more than offensive linemen. But, Duke says this every year, and he turns out to be right almost every year that, a couple of things can really turn a player who was looking good on the offensive line into a player that is not working out well or playing up to their potential. And it can be coaching points. It can be things they're asked to do, or specifically like ways that they are asked to do the same thing. And it seems like the more sort of my way or the highway any coach is, but specifically on the offensive line, the less likely they are to have sort of broad-based success, because they need a very specific player, a very specific type, a very specific person. They need to respond to coaching a very specific way. And if they don't get that, it's like, well, you're out. Like, as opposed to saying, hey, what I need you to get done is X. Find a way to do that. If you need my help, I'll do that. But like, if you accomplish the task, I'm not going to get on you so much about the way that happened. Those coaches seem to be able to bring greater success to a wider variety of players.
All right. Chiefs are back to covering 19-8, which means we have an opportunity for an all-time bad beat. If the Broncos march down the field, kick a field goal, and then fail on an onside kick, we have the potential for an absolutely hilarious outcome here. Now, checking in on the slip. Again, remember, it's insured. We only need 4.
Yeah,
so
but
Mahomes hit, Rice hit, Kelce hit. Russ is 13 pass attempts away. That's probably not going to hit.
All right, in 2 minutes. Good luck.
Mims, if he gets a 20 yards for Mims.
This is literally the holy grail for Mims, like one long shot. And I don't know what it is about the Broncos. I mean, I hate to think that Sean Payton hasn't advanced past the place where he was just largely anti-rookie, as he's been for a lot of his career. But you got to look at Marvin Mims and go, that guy gives us a pretty good chance every time he touches the ball. We're engineering him 3 or 4 touches a game. And that could be punt returns, that's fine. But like, we want to get him at least a couple passing attempts, targets per half. That's not too much to ask. 1 target per quarter, right? Because, geez, look at his results when he touches the ball. It's pretty damn awesome. This isn't like inspired coaching or armchair quarterbacking or anything else. It's, hey, this guy touches the ball. He creates results. Let's give him a few more touches, or some touches, period. To my knowledge, he doesn't have a catch tonight. Is that correct?
He doesn't have a catch. Guy with no vowel says, Carvin Shakmir is not going to save us, Brett. You're killing me. Oh,
it is so frustrating though, because I'm not even kidding. Wow.
Almost had a Troutman sighting.
I know, but like, you got to catch that ball. Come on, Adam. For those of you that don't know, Adam Troutman was the first or the second I can't remember whether it was.
It was either Dane or Adam, one of those two.
Yeah, I think Dane was the first one we got. Troutman was the one that we were excited to. So Dane Jackson, cornerback for the Bills, was the first ever interview that the two of us did together. We'd met each other about 8 hours before that, and Brett was, obviously a video guy. Was more of a podcast guy, and he was like, "All right, go ask him some questions. I'm going to film it." I was like, "What?"
Unbelievable cover for the Chiefs just now, by the way.
Yeah. By the way, yeah.
Game over. By the way.
By the way, and huge sigh of relief for me, for all the people in my life who were texting me and saying, "Are they going to cover?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, they're going to cover." And I've been sitting here sweating that out until, right there. What an unfortunate fumble too. Like, that's just a weird one. He literally caused it himself with his own knee. I can't remember last time I saw that. All right. Well, all's well-ish that ends well.
This is not a well situation, EJ. There's nothing about this game that was well.
No, you're right. As we expected, let's put it that way. But boy, I did expect a lot more out of the Chiefs offense. Chiefs defense obviously played great.
No, the Chiefs offense was just fucking around today. Like,
I mean, early on they squandered 2 red zone opportunities that could have turned this game into this way earlier. Like, in the middle of the second quarter, we could have been here, but no, we took a full 4 quarters to get to a kneel down. Okay, like there's lots of ways to do it. They all count the same in the record book. It's still a W, but doesn't give me a lot of hope moving forward that the Chiefs can step on whoever's neck they want to whenever they want to, because y'all messed around with the Broncos defense. Let me repeat that. The worst defense in football by a strong measure. You took a full 4 quarters to hang, 18 points on them. Like, yo, yeah. What's up?
Situational play calling is an issue.
I would agree.
And then
a very whelming game. Yes, a very whelming game indeed, Anthony.
What was the time of possession? Let me try to find time of possession for the Broncos in this one.
Feels like the Chiefs dominated that. Let me find it really quick. I've got it up here.
Because Russ, in a game that they were literally down from start to finish, Russ had 22 passes, and I'm like, how is that even possible? So let's see. It was
time of possession 34-47 for the Chiefs, 24-11 for the Broncos.
That's not that crazy. So for me, I'm like, how are you only throwing 22 passes in a game you're down the entire time? It's kind of wild to me. I don't know. It was a weird game. It wasn't a very satisfying game to watch. I feel like we didn't learn anything from this game. It was just the Chiefs playing with their food the entire time and still winning anyway. I guess if I had to say this, the only thing that we learned is that Travis Kelce's fine and that Rashee Rice is probably going to be good, and that the Chiefs...
Skyy Moore's not dead yet.
Skyy Moore's not dead yet. Isaiah Pacheco's still a psychopath. Chris Jones is a freak of nature. Patrick Mahomes is still good. Matt Nagy is not...
a positive influence on the Chiefs play calling.
I'm trying to think, what else? Is there anything else minor that we learned? The Broncos are not going anywhere, and
that the Chiefs still need a target. I mean, this is not news to Chiefs fans. They've been hollering about it like all season. They need receiving help, and I don't think it's one guy. Like, this isn't a situation where I think if they get the one guy that all the other guys are going to slot into their quote unquote proper slots. Yeah, so they need some receiving help. They got to catch the ball when Patrick puts it on them.
Also, I'm starting to think that, considering who the Broncos owners are, and they have more money than God.
True.
That that cap hit, if they move on from Russell prematurely, I'm starting to think they're not going to care about that and just do it. Because it's either they do $85 million this year, I think it is, or it's like $87 million the next year.
Sorry. Just like...
But I don't think they care. I don't think they care. Like, they don't give a shit.
Don't. but I'm just like, ooh.
They're worth like $80 billion. Like, it's
I know
nothing.
it doesn't. It's less than a drop in the bucket, but in terms of NFL money, when you have a salary cap and it is a percentage of that cap, $85 million.
I swear, I think it's starting to get to the point where it's like, hey, if we have a top 2 pick and we're gonna get Drake May anyway, just let Russ go. We'll eat it. Fine, whatever. It depends on the pick they get, but I'm starting to think that their owner is so rich that they would rather just eat it and move on.
It's possible, and you're right, only because of that ownership. Like, there are very few, probably 3-ish other owners in the league that would be like, 85 million, don't care.
Yeah. Like Kroenke, the Walton family. I mean, Kroenke technically is in the Walton family, sort of by marriage, but the Seahawks. Well,
not so much anymore. It's possible, but yes.
But like the Bidwells wouldn't do. The Bidwells would be like 85 million. No, you're staying here for life. Like
Cincinnati's not doing that. Like, even with the Paycor sponsorship, like there are not a ton of NFL owners that are that cash rich, and certainly the Denver ownership group is one that is exempt from that, and could consider it, as wild as it would be, because that is both of those are wild cap hits.
It's like, more than double, I think, the current record for a dead cap hit, which is like
exactly
40
like as a percentage, twice as much. Insane in terms of NFL money. But anyways, thanks to everybody that came and hung out for a game that wasn't even predicted at the beginning to be a barn burner. Hung with us the entire time. Really, really cool. Very glad to see you all here. Don't take any of that for granted. Podcast will be out possibly late tomorrow, maybe early Saturday. We got to the editors a little bit later. That's on us. It's really, really long, so the payoff will be good whenever you get to it. Make some time this weekend to listen to it before the games start up on Sunday. We certainly want that to happen. Big shout out to our partners at Underdog. Of course, we've given you their offer multiple times throughout this game. Check them out for sure if you're into that. And Homage, our clothing partner. Big announcement. NFL starter pullovers are releasing on Monday, 10/16, October 16th, which is Monday. About midday, they're going to release the NFL pullovers. If you're into 90s nostalgia, nothing more than a starter's pullover is going to pull that up for you. Check them out. They do go fast. Big shout out to Homage for supporting us.
Also, we had one last super chat that I know we're going to miss, but Andrew Stanley, if you're still here, shoot me an email in the email that I just dropped into chat, or hit me up through DM. I would love to talk to you about that. It's a long one about the process of creating a draft board based on system fit and everything like that. So it's very, very nuanced question. So we'll talk about that privately, because we're shutting down the stream. But thank you to everybody who's been here. Thank you to Underdog. Make sure to come back either tomorrow or Saturday, whenever that last episode or next episode drops, because it's a biggie. And then what's next, TNF? Hold on.
They showed it's Jags. Jags somebody. Hang on.
Jags Saints. Actually, I'm kind of... EJ.
Yeah.
That's kind of a nice game, not going to lie.
I saw that one when we were putting our schedule together in the summer. I was like, if the defense is still holding, which for the most part, Dennis Allen's defense has still been holding, it'll be a test for the Jaguars, at least on the Jaguars offense, Saints defense side of the ball. We'll see if the Saints defense can mount anything against the Jags defense, especially their run defense, which has been exceptional so far this year.
Yeah, should be a good one, which naturally means it's going to be the worst game of the year because we think it's going to be good. But
right, we just said it was
for now.
We just said it was going to be watchable, so it's on us.
We're going to pretend it's going to be good for now. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we will see you guys soon, and until then, later.